There I am, and there's Voodoo. Alright, so. Two of my players had a date night. One of my players had to work late. So I decided to stream because I really wanted to stream more Nightshade. And plus it lets me come up with more stuff and punish them for messing up their entire map. Alright. When we last left our game, Sasha was hella gay. Mishka was hella gay, and they were childhood friends. I'm excited, been waiting for the continuation. Me too. There's a new drug called NS. I guess it's new. They're acting like it's new. And they went to the club. Everyone had a bad time. I made a TikTok from me doing the Shaggy voice with Taryn, and it was the most popular TikTok I've ever made. And nothing sexual happened, because I'm playing the safe for work version. And then after Sasha went to bed, Mishka woke him up in the middle of the night and was like, "Hey, will you bring me a sewing kit? I got a hole. I need another injury like I need another hole in my side." Badum tish. And then he got thrown into an unmarked van, and the people that were sent to pick up Sasha, or pick up Mishka, picked up Sasha, and that's the last I know. So let's resume. The afternoon sun beat down on the old playground and laughter echoed through the clearing. A group of rowdy kids elbowed each other to get to the monkey bars, sprinting past the swings where one boy sat alone. His hair was scruffy and brown, and the tips of his shoes could barely touch the ground as they scored the sand beneath him. The rough crunch of dirt grew louder as another child ran up to the lone boy. "You're new!" That's the voice I'm going for young Sasha, yes. The boy's low gaze fixed on a pair of tennis shoes standing in front of him. He looked up. "I've never seen you before, and I'm here like every day." Well, as a child, they're going to be higher pitched, that you know, right? Right. And normal Sasha's here, so he'd be here. Out of breath from the jog over, the kid gasped the words between his panting. "I just moved here." He looked back down, his fingers fumbled with the chains of the swing. "That checks out. Why are you just sitting there?" The boy shrugged and watched his foot draw circles in the sand below. "Sasha, we're playing chicken. You're on my team." Sasha turned his head and yelled back, "In a minute!" Instead of joining the other kids, he walked over and sat on the swing next to the quiet boy, who was watching him with confusion. "I think your friends wanted to play." "Yeah, so what's your name? My name's Sasha." "Mikhail." His voice is a little more than a mumble. "So Mishka, right?" "Mikhail." "Do you know how to swing? Why are you sitting there?" Mishka only shrugged again. "You don't really talk much, do you?" Sasha pursed his lips and began drumming his hands on his thighs, looking slowly around the playground. "Want to come play on the monkey bars?" "I don't know how." "It's easy." Hopping off the swing, Sasha motioned for the kid to follow him. Mishka reluctantly slid off the swing before adjusting his sweater sleeves to cover his hands. He followed. They snap-zoomed over to the slide. "Sasha, we can't play chicken with uneven numbers!" "We're not playing chicken. Mishka doesn't know how to climb monkey bars." "Who's Mishka?" Sasha pointed at the kid, who's already looked back down at his feet. "I'm teaching him how to use the monkey bars, so move over." Not waiting for them to move, Sasha started climbing up the metal ladder on the side. The others jumped to the ground in showy fashion before dusting themselves off and leaving to find something else to leap from. "I'm really good at this, so just do exactly what I do. Come over here and try to hang on them." Sasha reached up and hung from one of the bars while facing his new friend so he could watch him try. Mishka watched the other kid leave before following Sasha up the ladder and grabbing a bar himself. Good, now try to pull yourself up. Before he could finish, Mishka had already climbed to the top of the monkey bars with ease. He turned to sit with his legs dangling off the side. Well, that's still beginner stuff anyway. Sasha hoisted himself up to join the boy, who was biting his lip to hold back a smile. The next level's hanging upside down. It makes you look like a bat. It's super dangerous. Sasha confidently spun around and hooked his legs over the side of the monkey bars before letting himself fall backward. His face quickly became flush from all the blood rushing to his head. See, if you fall, you probably break your neck. But if you do fall, you have to tuck and roll. Despite Sasha's very ominous and very accurate warning, Mishka did exactly what he saw his new friend do. As soon as he was upside down, his shirt began to fall. He shot out a hand to pin it to his stomach. You said you didn't know how. I didn't. It's probably because I'm a good teacher then. Sasha laughed, feeling a little light-headed from dangling there. After a few seconds, Mishka joined in with a timid smile. Okay, well, next you have to flip off, so put your legs like this. Wah! Disappointed they didn't flip their PNGs. In the middle of the demonstration, Sasha's hand slipped. Before Mishka could react, the other boy had fallen to the dirt below. Sasha! Mishka effortlessly flipped off the monkey bars and crouched next to Sasha. Luckily, the other boy's neck was, in fact, not broken. Sasha sat up with his hand covering the side of his face. His expression twisted into a frustrated pout. Ow. Ow. You didn't tuck and roll. Pull his hand away and there's a smudge of blood on his palm. You're bleeding. He's turning into Millhouse. There's the throbbing pain in Sasha's left brow. It stung when he touched it. Young Mishka's Millhouse now. That never happens. His eyes started to water as he defended himself, but he wouldn't let himself cry. I have bandages at my house.
Ash. Why is it just Ash and Millhouse?
Millhouse Ketchum. After helping pull Sasha up off the ground, Mishka tugged him towards the sidewalk. I'm serious, this never happens. Sasha followed Mishka across the street and inside an apartment building he'd never been in before. Mishka opened the door to his apartment and flickered the hall light on. Sasha followed him in. You live really close. I'm gonna get the med kit. Once he'd run upstairs, Sasha took the opportunity to quietly snoop around the house. The room echoed with his footsteps since there was almost nothing to absorb the sound. Aside from a sofa and a dining table, it looked like a move-in ready apartment. Making his way to the kitchen, Sasha walked up to the fridge and opened the freezer in hopes of finding ice for his cut. There was no ice. There wasn't anything. Curious, Sasha opened the fridge door. It was just as empty, except for some milk, cheese, a few protein drinks. Mishka came running back downstairs, peering around in confusion before realizing his friend must have wandered off to the kitchen. I have bandages. What are you looking for? You have, like, nothing to eat. Did you move in today? He shut the fridge and turned to Mishka, who shook his head. Sasha didn't question further while he watched Mishka open the kit and pull out a cotton ball, peroxide, and adhesive bandage. He grabbed the cotton ball and went to rinse it in the sink, dabbing it gently at his cut. The cool water offered much relief to the burning wound. We need to disinfect it first. No, that stuff stinks. Just give me a bandage. Mishka hesitated at first, but eventually handed it over. Sasha haphazardly slapped it on, adjusted it a few times so it didn't stick his eyelid shut. Let's go to my house. We have snacks and such. Mishka played at the bottom of his shirt, looking down. It's just for a little while. It'll be fine. The casual reassurance was enough to convince Mishka. He nodded. With the afternoon easing into dusk, both boys walked down the street and around the corner to Sasha's apartment building. Once inside, Sasha kicked off his shoes and left them on the entry rug before turning to walk into the kitchen. Mishka watched him quietly and took his shoes off as well, leaving them behind Sasha's. The kitchen was small, but every inch of counter space had something on it. Bread, cooking spoons, chips, bags, nuts, a mixer, a bit of everything, really. In a practice fashion, Sasha grabbed a few bags, shoved a licorice rope in his mouth, and pulled a box of pre-made sandwiches from the fridge. Oomph! Taking that as permission to follow, Mishka plopped himself down on the living room floor next to Sasha. The other boy spread out his collection of goodies. Sasha pulled the licorice again with his teeth until a large piece snapped off. He offered it to Mishka. Here, try these! As Sasha smacked away, Mishka took a small bite, which turned into a few bites until the stick was gone. The watermelon ones are my favorite, but the cherries are okay too. Do you like Dragon Lad? I had the first and second games. I'm almost done unlocking all the different levels. I've never played it before. It's so fun. Here, I'll show you. There's this one where you're flying through a volcano and... Sasha continued talking as he booted up the game system. Mishka pulled his legs in and watched the screen. Front door opened once more. Right, I didn't want to give her an embarrassing... I don't want to do an embarrassing lady voice. Because I'm terrible at hitting, like, high-pitched femme. So I gave her sort of the, Sam Elliott. The, Sasha, you here? Sasha yelled back, living room! His mom made his way to the corner. She smiled at the boys while she began undoing her earrings. I thought I heard two voices in here. Who's your new friend? This is Mishka. He just moved here. Mishka pulled his legs in tighter. Well, hi, Mishka. You staying with us for dinner? Unsure how to answer, Mishka timidly shrugged. I'll make a whole pot anyway. So, Sasha? She stopped to pull a hand full of colorful packages from her bag, giving them a gentle toss onto the carpet. Sasha's eyes lit up as he raced over to scoop them all up. My cheetah gum! That was the wrong way. My cheetah gum! Don't forget to share it. Sasha turned to share his gum, but there was no one there. He looked around. Mishka? Oh no, Mishka's a figment of his imagination the whole time! He stood up and walked to the kitchen to see if Mishka had slipped inside while he wasn't looking. It was just his mom setting a pot on the stove. Mom, have you seen Mishka? Beep. Sasha frowned. Mom? Beep. What's going on? Beep. Sasha, you've been in a coma for 30 years. What are you talking about? Drugs? No. Beep. The smell of rubbing alcohol. Oh, this looks like your apartment from Cyberpunk, but like before everyone shat all over the walls. It was so bright. Beep.
Will only take a minute. After that, we can send him back.
No! That's enough! You stay out of that room, Dima!
I need you to calm down, Pav. Any information he may have could help lead us to Mishka. We need... Hasn't he been through enough? We have other things we need to focus on right now.
Huh?
Who? I know you're upset, but the recall will have to wait. This is more important. If you saw something, then we need to know. Every second counts, Pav. I said you're not going in there. Give him some space, for Christ's sake. Excuse me. Beep. I can't believe this. Sasha's fingers twitched gently. The muffled argument outside the room seemed to have quieted down. The door opening caught Sasha's attention. He turned his head as best as he could and watched as a man in a white coat approached him. The doctor glanced down at the clipboard and then back up at Sasha. Oh no, I don't like Dr. Sexy. How are you feeling, Alexander? Sasha shook his head and groaned in protest. Just Sasha. Sasha it is. I always preferred shorthand anyways. My name is Dr. Sexy. I have come in to check on ya, let you know what we're doing. Looks like your vitals are a bit better than last night, so that's good. Sasha tilted his head up to see the ECG machine beeping nearby. Every inch of his body ached. He weakly tried to shift between the layers of blankets piled on top of him and grimaced. It hurts a lot. I bet. You've got some bruising, a concussion, and a sprained wrist. You also had a bit of internal bleeding, but don't worry, we fixed you right up, and you're good as new. Well, maybe not good as new, but we certainly have no concerns about your recovery. Where am I? All I could see... No, I'm still doing the young voice by accident. All I could see outside was his window was the tip of Strexa Tower. You're in Strexa's private hospital, right at the heart of HQ. In your condition, there's no place you'd rather be than here, trust me. Glancing back at his chart, the doctor patted the railing on the side of his bed. We'll get you some more painkillers and keep you a little longer for observation, just to make sure that concussion's under wraps. Need anything? Sasha shook his head and stared at his feet. The pit of his stomach felt hollow and empty, and nausea threatened at the back of his jaw. And I just realized he's got a throat tattoo of a fucking lotus. I thought he was just holding it, and I was like, wait, there's no stem. Well, that's ridiculous. Yoshi, let's get out of here. The doctor looked away and sighed softly. Just then, the sliding door to Sasha's mom. The sliding door to Sasha's mom opened again. Sasha's room opened again. This time, a larger man with navy hair and an eye patch walked in. Ah, good afternoon, Dima.
Hey.
Good afternoon. Am I interrupting? Look at them cum gutters. Dima drew near and stood at the end of the bed, eyeing Sasha, not waiting for the doctor's response. Ah, no, I was just telling Sasha here to rest up in a stress-free environment. No stress, Dima, none, no stress. The doctor raised his eyebrows in a faint smile and stared knowingly at Dima, a little longer than was comfortable. Dima gave a soft laugh and nodded. All right, no stress, Scout's honor. As if you were ever a scout. Turning back to Sasha, the doctor patted his foot gently. Take it easy, Sasha, and make use of that call button if you need anything. Sasha watched the two, the pain in his head throbbing. He sighed and watched the doctor walk out of the room, leaving him alone with the other man. Once again, the door clicked shut. Sasha looked towards Dima, who was still standing at the end of the bed. Will you watch over? He just starts flinging him out of the bed. Dima sighed and pulled up a chair. Sitting at the bedside, he sat down and leaned on his knees.
How are you feeling? Seriously?
How am I feeling? Are you serious? Dima looked away. Look, I feel like shit. I don't know where... Sasha gasped, pain shooting through his ribs. Don't know where I am, or where my friend is, or... His fist balled into the fabric of his bed sheets and gripped them tightly. Who are you even? Who are those people? Where's Mishka? The ECG monitor behind him began to beat faster, and Sasha's neck felt hot and tingly. His breathing was heavy, and the tension in his brows made his headache even worse. Sasha, please, calm down. There's that character's obligatory, Sasha, you make the disappointed Sasha tone.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has one.
What?
I feel like everybody has one.
I know, that's what I'm saying, you gotta collect them all. Sasha scoffed and tore his gaze away from the man. He stared at the far wall instead, his knuckles still clenched tight. I want to help you, I do. I just need any information you have about that night. There's only so much I could do with what little information we currently have. You didn't answer my question. Who are you? Dima pinched the bridge of his nose and shook his head. You don't need to know me to tell me what happened. I don't know what happened. What's going on? His anger was rising despite the pain. He was sitting in a hospital room completely alone, the last thing he could remember. This is a visual novel called Nightshade, You Are the Drug. I backed the Kickstarter a couple years ago. A friend of mine is voice acting one of the characters. A couple of the characters, actually. I started playing it...
One main character and a couple background.
Okay.
I saw the credits.
I flipped through the credits, but I just skimmed them real fast earlier to make sure I had the right name for the voice actor. I really enjoy it. You're a kid who sells drugs, and your friend kills people with knives, and then people in a white van picked up your friend. And it's in like a Neo Moscow kind of vibe. Like it's all Eastern European.
Yeah, everybody has very Russian names.
Yeah, everyone has very Russian names. Look, Sasha, if you could tell me about anything about what you remember from last night, we'll have a better chance of finding Mishka. So he's still alive? Does that mean you know who took Mishka? Dima's brow furrowed and he let it outside. Also, it's a very adult game. Got a lot of no-no things in it. I'm playing the safe for work version, but there is a not safe for work version. My version has less dicks. Sasha, there's no time for this. I need to know what you remember. I don't remember anything. Sasha looked away and lifted his bandaged hand to rub his nose. The rough motion made it sting, which just annoyed him further. You don't remember anything? Dima, was it? How do you even know Mishka? The moment his friend's name left his lips, Sasha felt a lump form in his throat. His gaze dropped to his hands while they fumbled with the sheet. I just need whatever info. Dima exhaled roughly with a scowl, but when he looked up and stared at Sasha for a few moments, his features softened. He worked for me, that's why I need to find him. Pray for info. What kind of work? Dima tilted his head ever so slightly and eyed Sasha for a moment, his fingers steepled and pressed to his lips. What? Mishka never told you? Obviously not. Why would I ask if I knew? Do I even want to know? I run a company that deals in trade, favors, and protection for the city. Mishka is an employee here. Sounds like a shady-ass company to me. This brat. I don't remember what happened, so I can't help you. Well then, we'll get... Man, like, I really want to do a Steve Bloom Wolverine, but I know I can't, and even if I can pull it off, I can't pull it off for long, but that's all I want to do for this character so badly that... Well then, I'll give you another day to rest. I'll ask you again tomorrow. Sasha's head whipped back to Dima. Wait, you mean I have to stay here? You don't have to do anything, but the people who took Mishka know your face, and this is the safest place to be right now. It's in your best interest. Now if you want to leave this hospital room, there's an apartment prepared for you on the upper floors. Sasha gazed at the tall man for a moment before begrudgingly nodding. He didn't want to stay another minute in this room. Then I'll have a change of clothes brought up. Meet me in the hall when you're ready. Ooh, is this where I'm going to get his signature bomber jacket? His iconic bomber jacket. Sasha said nothing while the man stood from the chair and made his way out of the room. I want to go home. Mishka, where are you? Sasha stepped out of the hospital room, clutching a bag with his old clothes and shoes stuffed inside. Wet, bloody, and a bit ripped, they were in no condition to be worn. Instead, he'd put on the outfit Dima had sent up to his room. Good, I'm glad everything fits. You ready? Whatever. Everything hurt when he walked, even his feet. Sasha grimaced as he followed the man down the hall and into the elevator. Not even trying to take in any of his surroundings. He just stared down at the plain pair of shoes he'd been given. Dima stood silently next to him. After they stepped out of the elevator, guided Sasha down another hall until they arrived outside what looked like a hotel room door. This will be your room. We've updated the permissions on your C card. It'll work for the door and for getting the food from the cafeteria. All of the necessities are already in the room. Okay? You can order room service if you'd like. Dima attempted to smile, but it dissolved as he watched Sasha walk defeatedly into the apartment and close the door behind him. Good night,
Sasha.
Ah, he said it. Is this the point of the game where I get stats and then like have a day where I can work out or go to school and then go on a date with someone?
Oh my god, this is a visual novel.
Yeah, I earned visual novels like that. I played them all on the Newgrounds. If you're really good, you get a sloppy blowjob in a dressing room. Sasha stood unmoving in the foyer. He dropped his bag of tattered clothes to the floor, staring ahead blankly. He was alone again. Sasha's arms hung heavy at his side. The stillness of the apartment felt surreal. Even with the lights off, it was easy to see. Everything was bathed in a gentle white radiance from the moonlight spilling in through the large window. The room was immaculate compared to his downtown studio apartment. The kitchen was easily 3 times the size of his own. He frowned. Jesus, this place is massive. Sasha looked down at his feet, staring at the shoes Dima gave him. He then glanced over at his sneakers by the door, the one he'd worn on that night. His chest grew Why is Sasha saying his chest grew tighter the longer he stared? Finally, he just kicked the plain shoes off. Found one bug in your game. You got thrill ride. You fucked up. Thrill switch. You fucked up. 0 out of 10. No, it's still fucking good. Putting the thought of his mind, Sasha padded slowly across the cold tile. His footsteps were light, despite how heavy his body felt. He pushed the sliding door open, revealing the bedroom. The sight of the large bed made Sasha's body feel even heavier. His legs moved on their own, carrying him over to the bed where he flopped down. It didn't even bother crawling beneath the covers, simply curled up on top of him. Sasha closed his eyes, hoping he'd fall asleep quickly, but he didn't. Behind the closed lid, Sasha imagined being in his room. On his sheet bed, the sound of his TV would be playing in the background, and Mishka would be sitting at the front of his bed, scrolling through his phone. He was always there, whether Sasha texted him to come over or not. Instinctively, his hands began searching for his phone. He didn't feel anything. Sasha's eyes shot open and he lifted his head to look around. Fuck, where's my phone? Is there anything else the universe wants to take from me? Deep down, he already knew it was back in that alley. He laid his head back down on the pillow. Give Mishka a million keys to his apartment if it meant not feeling like this. Feelings of sadness, fear, and confusion were rushing in, and his heart began to race. Tears blurred his vision. A whirlwind of thoughts and emotions overwhelmed him. He curled up tighter. Stifled sobs broke the silence of the apartment and continued long into the night. Kowabummer. A small groan of pain fell from Mishka's lips as he gradually became conscious. His body ached. He tried to move, but felt the cold bite of restraints at his wrists. Sasha, I can't see. Darkness surrounding him. The feeling of fabric against his face was a quick indication of just what kind of predicament he was in. He grimaced and began to struggle, testing the strength of his rope tied around his body. I wouldn't do that if I were you. You still have a pretty big gash on your side there. That was not a voice he recognized. Mishka scowled and turned his head towards the speaker. How about you come over here and take this bag off? Sorry, I'm not allowed to fraternize with prisoners. Only keep watch. I'll let the boss know you're awake. Again, try not to struggle too much. You'll bleed all over the floor and then I'll have to clean up. Middle chair legs scraped harshly against the concrete floor as the man stood up and walked away. Mishka swiveled his head, following the direction of the noise. He heard the hollow clang of a large metal door slamming shut. Then nothing. He knew he was alone. God damn it. Sasha, I hope you're okay. Several painfully slow minutes passed by in silence. Mishka slowly flexed his fingers, gripping the edges of the cuff that bound his arms behind him. Rope tightly secured his ankles to the legs of the chair beneath him. He yanked at the bonds, trying to loosen their hold. Still, nothing budged. Suddenly, the door swung open.
There he is.
Abruptly, the fabric of his head was ripped off and tossed to the ground. The light of the room was damn near blinding. Mishka squinted against the glare, head falling forward to shield
How
his
nice of you to
eyes.
finally join us. Did you sleep well?
The man who just entered stopped in front of Mishka, his lips upturned in a thin smile. A slim man dressed in black hovered beside him like a guard dog, waiting for any signs of trouble.
Well,
If you wanted to see me so badly, all you had to do was ask. Nicely. And on your knees. He sneered. Blood was smeared at the corner of his mouth and stained his shirt, spreading across the fabric around his stab wound like spilled ink. Every move he made sent a spike of pain radiating out from the deep gash.
Oh.
I was worried you wouldn't be able to talk, what with you being gutted and all. I'll have to thank Ada for leaving you in such great condition. Mishka gave a wide, fake smile, his teeth flashing sharply in the bright light. Thanks for your concern, I'm touched. So what's the occasion? Birthday party? Wedding? Roman's eyes narrowed slightly, his smile unmoving. You were a busy man, Mishka. Think if this is a well-deserved unpaid vacation. How generous of you, but you're wasting your time, Roman. You know how it goes. I'd rather die than give you any information. Blah, blah, blah. Ada sighed under his breath. You think I brought you here for information? There's nothing you have that I need. Then why did your pet over there stab me and drag me here? Why fuck around like that and keep me alive? No need to be so eager to die. Live bait always works better. And you really think that'll distract Dima? His hands twisted behind the chair, trying to slide out of the cuffs. From what? What is he doing? You ask a lot of questions for someone with one foot in the grave. Besides, you're Dima's favorite. He'd do just about anything to get you back. Jealous? I've heard about your little love story. Ada's brows furrowed and he looked away. Roman tilted his head and stared in silence. Quietly, he reached back and placed a hand on Ada's thigh. He slid his fingers along the other man's leg before suddenly unsheathing the knife hidden there. He turned back to Mishka, twisting and turning the blade under the light, observing how the light gleamed off its sharp edge. Going to give me a scar to match the one I gave you? Without warning, the knife ruthlessly swiped across Mishka's face. Blood sprayed the far wall. Ah! Mishka cried out and bowed his head, snarling. Good idea. Roman held the knife out to Ada, cold eyes watching Mishka writhe in agony. Ada took the knife and after flicking the blood off the end of the blade, slid it back into his thigh holster. The moment you are no longer useful, I will have you killed. You and your little friend from the club. Mishka's heart skipped a beat, eyes wide. He whipped his head up, face throbbing in pain. He winced. What? What are you talking about? A smile returned to Roman's face and he glanced back at Ada, briefly exchanging looks. Ada told me about your friend, Sasha, was it? Mishka glanced between them. His breathing had grown heavier, chest tight with rising panic. He struggled harder against his restraints, desperate to break free. Roman! He has nothing to do with this. Oh, but I think he has everything to do with you, Mishka. No, leave him out. Don't bring him into this. You already did, remember? Roman pulled a phone from his pocket and unlocked the screen. So many missed calls until he finally picked up. And just look at these text messages. Roman chuckled, his thumb browsing nonchalantly. Let me come over tonight. You were just here, chill out. Just give me a key. We're practically married anyway. I filed for a divorce. Roman's laugh made Mishka's stomach twist into knots. These are pitiful, Mishka. Fuck off. Blood dripped down Mishka's cheek and a few drops fell to the ground as he lurched forward, lunging towards Roman, his face twisted in rage. The chair shook, but held firm. Look at you, all worked up over a boy who doesn't even like you. Roman. Roman slipped the phone back into his pocket and turned to leave, placing his hand onto the door handle. He paused and looked over his shoulder. There's only a thin line between obsession and insanity, Mishka. And the way you jump through the hoops for even a scrap of his attention is just pathetic. Ada's gaze flickered towards Roman, glancing up at the other men from where he stood, close at his side. After a moment, he lowered his eyes back to the ground. Roman opened the steel door. Try not to bleed out. The door slammed behind him, the sound echoing through the empty cell. Heavy, shaky breaths dissolved into quiet sobs. Mishka slumped into the chair, hands falling limp. Hot, wet tears streamed down his face, mixing with his blood and fell to the concrete below. Sasha. Agony gripped his chest like a bind around his heart. The pain of his wounds was nothing compared to this. I'm so sorry. Mishka's vision blurred with tears. I'm so selfish. So selfish. Sasha's eyes ached. His head pounded, waves of pain beating against the inside of his skull.
Ugh.
He hadn't crawled out of bed since he had arrived and had no intention to. Several times during the night, he had woken up only to stare at the clock that didn't seem to move. It was the longest night he could remember. Sasha had never wanted to sleep so badly, but his body kept denying him. At least he was able to slip into shallow naps after his eyes grew tired of crying. 10, 11, 12, 13 hundo, 14 hundo. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock.
Hello?
I know you're in there. You literally haven't left this room, so there's nowhere else you could be. Sasha jolted awake with a sharp gasp at the loud banging. His heart raced in his chest. He lifted his head. Red eyes narrowed as he tried to process the situation. The sudden noise. Hello? No, Tulip, he's definitely a cat person. Just give me a minute. Knock, knock, knock. What in the... Crawling slowly out of his cocoon of sheets, Sasha stumbled to his feet and into the living room. Everyone shuffled. Every shuffling step sent twinges of pain through his heavy limbs. There you go. Now I can get the actual words out. Sasha approached the front door, leaning close to look out a peephole. He was met by the gaze of a man with large purple eyes. His face was right up against the door, as if he'd been trying to peer into the peephole from the other side. The man was up on his tiptoes, and an overstuffed basket hung from the crook of his elbow, the same hand clutching something larger against his side. Sasha couldn't tell what it was. The visitor pulled his arm back, balled his hand into a fist, and quickly rapped at the door with more fervor than before. Sasha jumped and took a step back. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. Hello? 1. He cleaned his throat. 1 second. Sasha unlocked and opened the door and looked down.
My God.
Thank God, you finally know how long I was out here? For like a split second I thought you were dead, but then I was like, no way, so I knocked harder and here you are. Sasha browed furrowed slightly. And you are? An explosive laugh erupted from the shorter man. Each giggle shook the contents of the basket, drawing Sasha's eye. It was stuffed to the brim with colorful items, and tucked into the crook of one of the man's arm was a large calico cat. As if you don't know who I am. Oh wow, that's hilarious. You're funny. Dima didn't tell me you were funny. A mild-wide grin grew from ear to ear as the stranger stared at Sasha. Oh, you were serious! Do I not seem serious? Is that seriously a cat? Well, since you didn't seem to be in the... No, I'm Pavel. You can call me Pav, and this is Tulip, my cat. Meow. Pavel gently gripped the rotund cat with both hands and held her out in front of him with a proud smile. Sasha blinked a few times. So, what are you?
So,
Oh! Dima sent me down to check on you, and by check on you, I mean, he wants me to ask you if you remember anything from the other night. But you know, I'm not going to do that, so instead... Short man set the cat down by his feet and took hold of the basket's handle, thrusting it out towards Sasha's chest. This is the only character I've met that I'm like, wow, this is... sure is a stereotypical gay. This is... this is how Adam Sandler pictures every gay man. Tulip rubbed against Pavel's ankle and sat quietly nearby. I brought you, like, a ton of stuff. Sasha took the basket and looked down to see soap, shampoo, a loofah, and candles? Okay, I know what you're thinking, but everyone needs candles sometimes. They heal the soul. No, the shampoo has, like, a lavender extract in it, and it smells super good. I made it myself. Thanks, I don't normally use this stuff. Yes, I can tell, you stink.
anyway...
So anyways, I know you haven't left your room or anything, but have you thought about taking a peek around and stuff? Aren't you a little bit curious? Meow. I don't think your boss wants me to wander in the halls. He didn't exactly roll out the welcome wagon. He's not my boss. Pavel shrugged and glanced down at Tulip before he picked her up and cradled her like a baby. Morale. Don't pay Dima any mind, really. I run the show here. So, want to come up with me to my wing? The wide smile returning and Pavel leaning closer to Sasha. Actually, I'm probably just gonna hang out here? Sasha averted his gaze from his visitor. Yeah, that's what I said. Hang out with me here in this building. Though my wing is on the 4th floor, so you'll have to take the elevator that's down the hall. That's not really what I meant. Oh, and shower first. After giving an affirming nod, Pavel turned on his heel and started off. 4th floor! Sasha stood there in stunned silence, basket in hand. He watched his visitor turn the corner and disappear out of sight. What just happened? With a big sigh, Sasha closed his door and looked down at the care package. Guess I better wash up. After some fiddling with the shower knobs, he got the water running and began to strip down. Sasha felt his stomach drop when he saw himself in the mirror. Never in his life has he seen his body like this. Fragile, battered and bruised, swathed in bandages. Swathed in bandages. No wonder he felt like shit. He probably looks even worse. The secret is I'm illiterate.
Yeah, I know.
I'm telling the audience.
God damn it.
As quickly as the thought entered Sasha's mind, he pushed it out. He eyed the nearby basket and its contents. Reluctantly, he reached for the small bottle and stepped under the warm stream of water to wash up. The smell wasn't nearly as strong as he'd anticipated. It was quite nice, actually. The loofah felt soft on his sensitive skin as he lathered the soap, careful to keep his bandages dry. After his shower, Sasha got dressed and swallowed a few painkillers. He toed on his shoes, tucked his C-card into his pocket, and made his way out the unfamiliar apartment. The door closed behind him with a soft click and a beep. Okay, elevators. This way? I don't like how white and clean this place is. Yeah,
Office building.
my partner's usually where I go to whenever I'm like, oh, the studio audience. Occasionally I have another person or two, but that's why I have like 5 displays going on right now. I have my display, I have my technical display so I can fiddle with stuff if I want to, and I have my phone so I can see the chat easier, and then I have the audience display. And then, my partner has their phone to boost my numbers and to make me feel better about myself. Okay, elevators. Elevators, this way? Not really sure where he is going, Sasha started down the hallways and peered around as he went, searching for the elevators. Everything was so sleek and spotless, it was hard not to get caught up in it, staring at it all while he walked. What the fuck is that? Oh crap, I'm so sorry. My brain went to fucking spin and then it like increased the speed by 80%. Sasha shook his head and smiled sheepishly as he took a step back. I didn't see you there, my bad. Oh no, it's probably my bad. The man pointed to his phone. I was playing Flappy Bat, so please. He's turning Russian now. If you want next time, do you think I can volunteer to help with the read out loud text? That way you don't have to overwork yourself? Nah, it's fine. It's fine. Part of the fun is me, you know, reading it slightly wrong, because I know it's getting under a couple people's skin. And I have to and mild trolling is the only way I can survive in this world. I was playing a Flappy Bat. Please don't worry about it. Oh, I like Flappy Bat. Yeah? You any good at it? I'd like to think I'm really good, yeah. Nice. That's perfect, because I'm stuck on this one level and I could use some help. If you're going to the cafeteria, you could help me out. The amount of us, it fits fucking... Okay, one of my players in my D&D game, which was canceled today, his like, he's got a heavy Norwegian... They have a heavy Norwegian heritage, and they know, like, that area of Europe pretty well, because they visit there every now and then. And I'm just doing a shitty impression of their character in the game. I'm not hungry. Maybe some other time. Sasha rubbed the back of his neck, struggling to maintain eye contact. Oh yeah, totally. All cool, all cool. You have a good day then, Sasha, was it? Does everyone know my name? Yeah, I didn't catch yours. Well, that's because I didn't say it. It's Jonas. Anyways, catch you later.
See ya.
What?
Did not occur to me to give him that voice back.
Well, that's the voice he has. Hi, Jelly. Victory is yours. Oh, since Jelly and Sertra's here, I improved one of my effects. Yes, I had to show off 3D Squelton.
Oh my god.
I love 3D Squelton.
I hate him.
Who do you hate?
3D Squelton.
Sasha took a few steps away and then paused. Turning on the spot, the hall was branching off into 3 different directions, and they all looked the same. He huffed and scratched the top of his head. How the hell did anyone find anything in this mess of a building? No, I'm not a Beavis and Butthead fan. Oh good, you found your bandolier. Jelly is dressing up as Chewbacca for a boudoir show.
Oh, really?
No,
Oh.
it was just the most embarrassing thing I could think of that involves a bandolier.
That's embarrassing. It sounds badass.
A boudoir baka? I don't know.
It sounds badass.
Do you need any help with anything? You look a bit lost. Sasha looked over his shoulder at the employee. Me? No, I just, Sasha bit the inside of his lip. Where are the elevators? They're right behind you, actually, down the hall there. I know, confusing, right? Oh, I see, thank you. I feel like I'm trying to navigate a hospital. Hospital with no signs. Yep, I see you, Sasha. You're going to help me with that Flappy Bat level later. Sasha offered a fake smile and a small wave when Jonas strode off. Now that he had his directions, he headed towards the elevators. Once he reached them, he hit the down button and stood back, waiting. The moment the elevator door opened on the 4th floor, Sasha was hit with a wave of floral scents. It wasn't a mystery as to why once he stepped out into the open room. Greenery covered almost every square inch of the place. Plants climbed trellises on the walls, draped from the beams in the skylights, and filled pots next to the computers. It breathed life into the otherwise sterile lab. Sasha stared in sheer wonder for a moment. Floor-to-ceiling windows completely lined with walls, letting so much natural light pour in that Sasha almost felt like he was outside. Sasha looked over his shoulders to double-check the floor number. Floor 4. This has to be it then. Morale. Something soft and warm brushed by his ankle. Oh, hi again. Morale. Do you know where your dad is? A chirp. Okay, good talk. Sasha started roaming around until he spotted someone sitting on a stool tucked next to a long, sleek island. A bag of what looked like takeout was placed on the smooth surface beside him. The person noticed Sasha standing there and looked over. Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot what voice I gave this bouncer.
Glad to see you're back on your feet.
Oh, right, I hated his voice because it was deep and nasally, which is hard for me to pull off. You were in a pretty bad shape when I found you.
Huh?
Found me? You're the one that brought me here? Well, I couldn't just leave you there. No, I mean... Thank you. Are you feeling better? Oops, are you feeling better? Sure, relatively speaking. I still feel like shit. But I'd feel worse if I was left in the street. Probably. I haven't properly introduced myself. I'm Vadim. I work with Pavel. Sasha, how does someone like him work with someone that energized? The elevator door opened with a chime and out stepped Pavel, weighed down by 3 massive plastic bags. Okay, who's hungry? A loud bang echoed when the bags of food were dropped onto the surface near Vadim. Pavel then rounded the corner and dragged a stool over. Its metal legs scraped shrilly against the floor. How much is too much food, Pav? It's not too much, I just don't know what Sasha likes, so I thought I'd get one of those everything sample platters from a few of our favorite places. Where's Tulip? By the elevator last I checked. Despite Pavel's cheery attitude, Sasha still felt out of place. He reached out and rubbed his arm. Pavel dragged another stool next to him and Pavel dragged another stool next to him and Vadim and patted it. Okay. Smiling at Sasha.
So,
Come on, Sasha. I need to make sure none of this is poisoned. I'm not all that hungry, honestly. Still, he walked over and took a seat. He'd come all the way up here after all. Aw, but Sasha! Pav. He said he's not hungry. Let him be, okay? What did you bring me? Oh, you know what I brought you. Pavel buried his hands into the plastic bag and rustled around until he pulled out a container. Triumphantly, he held it above his head, spotlighting it in the fluorescent lights above him. Ta-da! Chicken mashed potato bowl, here you go. Once Pavel set the food down in front of Vadim, he leaned closer and pressed a kiss to the man's cheek. Sasha watched the pair a bit awed by how they behaved towards each other. Casual, but clearly loving. Something like an old married couple. I can always count on you for the gourmet selections. Pavel sat down soon after and pulled off the plastic lid of his own food container. So, Sasha, how long have you known Mishka? He popped a strawberry into his mouth and grinned at Sasha expectantly. Sasha stared at Pavel blankly for a moment. Since we were kids, I guess. His gaze dropped to the table. Aw, that's so cute. You know, he said a few things here and there after some prying. But he really cares about you, from what I've heard at least. Are you guys dating?
Pav?
Sasha shook his head. It's fine. We're not dating. He's just a friend. Oh, ouch, friend zoned. Vadim sighed. How long have you worked with Mishka? Sasha still stared at the table, watching his fingers trace patterns on the surface. Well, since time is a social construct, I think it's fair to say I've worked with Mishka for... He lifted his head towards the ceiling and stared at the tiles above, using his fingers to slowly count in his head. 4 years, or something like that, I think. Right, Vadim? It's been 10 years.
My God!
What the fuck, are you just serious? See, what did I tell you? Time is an illusion, man. Vadim, eat your biscuit or I will. Sasha's eyes widened as he looked up. 10 years? How long has he been... How has he been working here for 10 years? Without me knowing. This all seems pretty shady. It's really what Mishka's been doing all this time? Is this really what you all do here?
I see.
Ah. Dima must not have told you much. Meaning? Meaning, I'm a drug lord who bioengineers the drugs circulating the city. Vadim's a field agent, my sexy bodyguard. Mishka's a top-rated assassin, and Dima pulls all the strings. And it looks like no one has told you that. He got too villainous in that line. I need to make him more lighter, cheerier. Assassin. Sasha felt his stomach flip. And here I thought you guys just ran bus lines and malls and stuff. What do you think pays for those bus lines and stuff? He smirked at Sasha. What PAV means is that there's a Strexo that gets its hands dirty, so we can keep the city clean. Most of what we do here is to benefit Sabina in some way. Vadim lifted his wrist and checked the time before he continued to eat. Benefit Sabina with assassins? Pavel blinked and watched Sasha for a moment. Oh, sorry, I usually do a pretty good job at jumping on my ads to delay them a little bit, but I still have to have like one 30-second ad every hour or so if I want to have affiliate with any advertisement shit whatsoever, any money stuff. It gives me that nickel an hour. The large calico cat suddenly jumped up to the countertop and pawed at the plastic lid. Except Tulip. Vadim and I found her and gave her a home. Oh no, sweetie, no chicken for you. Chirps. What do you mean? Chicken's bad for the cat, silly. Well, when we found her, she was just a scared kitten huddled up in a box. Strex offers us a kind of stability we didn't have otherwise. Have on the outside. Whatever we lacked, Dima tried to help us find. He tries to, at least. It worked for some of us, and others, well... It's come back to bite him more than a few times. Pavel jammed his you know, we're having a slightly distracted, like, chitty-chatty session, so give me a second. Oh, whoa. I gotta move this stuff over here before you guys see something too terrible. Before you see me put in my, social security number. Because now I'm actually curious exactly how I have it set up. Affiliate. How do I... Yeah. I have 30 seconds an hour on advertisements. Because I don't want you guys to throw money, like, I don't want people to be like, oh, I need to send bits and shit. So I figured, you know, 15, 30 seconds of, I don't know, Canyon Arrow. I assume they advertise with SUVs. It's always SUVs, right? That would be better than, you know, me being like, Just straight up e-begging. Let me put it that way. Alright. Pavel jammed his fork into a piece of chicken and scraped it off with his teeth. But, as Vadim said, Strexa is home to a lot of people who come from nothing, and we're all trying to help Sobania. Ah. The brief silence is broken when Vadim stood and pushed his stool in. Breakups. I have to head back downstairs. Breaks up. I have to head back downstairs. Ah, poo, babe, no. Stay. There's nothing up here I need to protect you from, other than yourself. And you also have a job here, remember? He leaned over and kissed the top of Pavel's head before bagging up his food and tying it. The affectionate display caused Sasha to look away. While Pavel had clearly enjoyed the kiss, he still pouted. He crossed his arms childishly and kicked his legs out from the stool. I don't want to go back to work. I've hit a wall. Climate. Vadim! Vadim just laughed. As anyone who could defy the odds, is the best phytochemist in Sobania. The purple-haired man waved his hand dismissively, but still smiled at Vadim anyway. Okay, I guess. Sasha's gonna help me with the work. That should get me over this wall. Yes, I'm supposed to be able to... I keep forgetting to manually mess with my ads, which is my fault, I will admit. To be perfectly frank, I'm not used to dealing with an audience. So I just keep bulldozing through. Give me a second, and I will set myself up a personal timer. Now I can set it up for a little bit of a... We can do a little bathroom break. I'll hold hands and shit.
Holding hands while I poop.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta hold your hands while you poop. You're fine. I'm just trying to... There. I give myself heads up time. And then I go back... here.
What was your first intro to...
I recently ran an ad and must wait to run another. Can you tell me when my last... Okay, I don't have a... It'll just give me a warning now. It should. Okay. I'm gonna what? Nothing. You don't have to help him. He's got enough distraction. Oh. Wrong character. Give me a second to get back in. Nothing. You don't have to help him. He has had enough distractions as is. What? Oh, wait. Ow. As contagious as Pavel's energy was, Sasha still didn't want to commit any social interactions and took Vadim's out. Best followers, primes, and viewers on mountviewers.com. I doubt that Mekatsta, on account of being, you're some sort of stinky super bot. Oops. To the pit. Yeah, I'm gonna look around. It was nice meeting you both. The formality of that statement felt weird as he said it. Pavel's shoulders sank softly as he watched Sasha stand. Vadim had already made his way to the elevator and stepped inside after waving a quick goodbye. Okay, I'll, check up on you later, Sasha. Morale. Sasha felt a smile involuntarily tug at his lips. He bit his lower lip to try and hide it.
Okay.
Sasha shoved his hands deep into his pockets, and as he approached the elevator, Vadim had just left through. How one person has so much energy, I'll never know. He laughed to himself and stepped into the elevator. The hallway outside the lift was vaguely familiar. Vaguely. These halls all look the same. If I die here, it's because I got trapped inside this endless maze and died of boredom. Ugh. His stomach growled. Or hunger. Guess my appetite finally decided to join me. He looked back at the elevator and almost hit the button again, but hesitated. If I go back up there now, he'll never let me leave. Maybe I can find a vending machine around here. Go back to your room. They said there's room service, you dumb twink. With newfound determination, Sasha gradually made his way through the labyrinth of halls. He did his best to make sure his shoes didn't echo as he walked. We're all trying to help Sobania. Pavel's words kept replaying in his head. Mishka is an assassin. As much as he wanted to push that thought out, it was hard to forget his behaviors, his knives, his connections. Sasha sighed, which is weird because he has green hair. As he rounded the corner, Sasha looked over and saw railings on either side of him. He could see the lower floors of the Struxa building. Down below, several employees were passing back and forth as they went about their business. It almost looked like a normal office building from up here. Sasha stepped closer, leaning his elbows on the edge of the railing as he looked down below. Huh? His eyes caught a familiar figure. Even from up there, that navy hair was easy to spot. Whatever we lacked, Dima tried to help us find. Sasha pursed his lips. His body felt heavier now against the rail. How'd you get tangled in all this, Mishka? Sasha started nibbling at his thumb mindlessly before his eyes happened to catch those of a worker below. He gestured up towards them. The moment Dima looked up at him, Sasha dropped down to hide behind the partition he'd been leaning on.
Are you kidding me?
What the hell am I doing? Why am I hiding? Heat flooded his cheeks when he realized how weird his reaction was. I can't stand up now. That looks so stupid. This is stupid. Sasha pulled his arms down and crawled away until he could safely stand without being seen. He hurried down the hall, eyes on the lookout for his apartment door, desperate to find it soon. Luckily for him, he did. Fingers fumbled with his C card, he scanned himself inside, and leaned against the door to close it. Only the sound of his tired breathing filled the empty apartment. It was quiet. It was so quiet. It was just him now. No Pavel, no Vadim, no Dima, just Sasha. His chest felt tight as he pushed off the door and slowly carried himself back to the bed he was growing too familiar with. He toed off his shoes. Sasha dropped heavily onto the mattress and curled up tightly. That idiot. He should have just gotten the taxi. Tears brimmed over and blurred his vision. He pulled a pillowcase and buried his head into the soft fabric. Choked sobs replaced his quiet breathing, filling the apartment. Sasha stirred awake and with a soft groan, not remember when he'd fallen asleep. The afternoon light poured in from behind the sheer curtains and filled the apartment. His entire body ached with the discomfort of sleeping in an unfamiliar bed. In addition, the painkillers from yesterday had long since worn off, and left him feeling like he'd been hit by a truck. Sasha sat up slowly, his hand moving to cradle his head. He grimaced and shuffled the covers off his legs. Knock, knock, knock. Are you serious? Why don't these people just leave me alone? Rubbing his eyes, Sasha slid off the bed and staggered towards the door. Pav, this early morning visit thing has got to... He opened the door. Oh no!
Hello there, Sasha. That's your name, right? I heard it was Sasha, but I also wanted to make sure I got that right.
It's another cutie! Sasha stared, stunned for a few seconds. The woman stared back at him for a few moments, then reached out her hand and gave Sasha a big smile. Sasha cautiously accepted her handshake and was met with a hard squeeze. Anyway, I'm Indigo. Ow. Hi, Indigo. You got that right, it's Sasha. Indigo beamed, reached into the bag on her hip and grabbed something. She thrust her arm toward him and offered a small white box. Your phone is pretty banged up. Vadim brought it to me to fix, but it's probably easier if I just gave you a new one, so here you go. It's fine, just take it. You sure? Yeah, really, just take it. I added our number to it earlier, so if you need anything, I'm sure one of us could help. Us? Well, I added myself, Pavel, Vadim, and Dima, just in case. Though Dima's a horrible texter. Why am I not surprised? Sasha grabbed the little box from her hand and peered down at it. It looked brand new from the store, though the tape seal was already broken. Thank you. Please don't mention it. It's what I'm best at. You're best at buying new phones? No, silly. I'm best at tech and, finding the best bargains. It's whatever. Sasha glanced down at the small box again with a smile. A second later, his stomach growled loudly. Another second passed, and his stomach growled again, louder this time. Indigo laughed and brought her hand up to her mouth, covering her grin. You wouldn't happen to be hungry, would you? Sasha's other hand clenched at his abdomen, and he nodded sheepishly. Maybe a little. Arching her brow, Indigo laughed again and motioned over her shoulder. Come with me to the cafeteria. Food's not half bad, really. And imagine you could probably use a bite to eat. Sasha looked away, his fingers tightening on the phone box. It's okay. You could try some bread or soup if you need to start small. Okay, yeah, sure. Sasha looked down at what he'd been wearing. It was the same set of clothes from the previous day. Luckily, he hadn't done much else other than sleep, so he smelled fine. At least he thought so anyway.
Okay.
Coolio, let's get going. He smiled and gave a small nod. Following her out, the door closed behind them with a soft click. Sasha lifted his hand and rubbed at his eye with his palm, still a little groggy. I liked that she's had the shortest hair so far. And she got thighs! Yeah. She got thighs! Like actual human thighs, not unrealistic garbage. That's what I'm talking about. I already left a review talking about like, wow, this game does really good representation, and they don't make a huge fucking deal of it. They don't have the non-binary characters or the trans character's personality be like, oh, I'm the trans person, or anything like that. They just do the fucking shit like you're supposed to. Sorry. Sasha lifted his hand and rubbed at his eye with his palm, still a little groggy. Look, I'm sorry if being here is, well, confusing and scary and just a lot. I know it can be a lot. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I know we don't know each other, but if you need someone to talk to, I'm usually available and will always tell you when I'm not. I like to think I'm a good listener. Clasping her hands in front of her, she grinned at Sasha. The two of them made their way down the hall. Sasha did his best to remember which turns they made, so he knew his way back to the apartment. Indigo's heels echoed against the walls as she greeted every passing coworker.
So,
Sasha, have you been able to... Oh, hi, Leo. Have you been able to get any sleep? Some. If you need anything to help you sleep, please let me know. Hey, Ginger! I have melatonin and night masks and stuff. There's also this app. Hello again, Nina. We seem to keep running into each other.
oops.
Sorry, what was I saying? An app? Oh yeah, there's this app called Snoozle that plays like the sounds of thunderstorms or beach waves or whatever to help you sleep. I really like it. It plays through night mode as well. I'll have to check it out. His tone was rather flat as his eyes wandered around the room. Indigo's cheeks flushed a bit. After a few seconds of silence, she started to pick at her dress, making sure every frill was perfectly in place, even though her dress looked perfect. Ah, here we are! Sasha looked up and immediately had flashbacks to high school. Well, if his high school had been a multi-billion-dollar drug industry. But, Tish! Oh no, I'm in a goofy mood tonight for some reason. Everything looks so sleek and clean, and all the cutting-edge design and modern furniture. Had he not been following Indigo to the line, Sasha wouldn't have even come near this place. He crossed his arms over his chest while looking over his food options. It's all covered, so just grab whatever. Personally, I'm a fan of the okroshka. The potatoes they use are classic cold soup consisting of chopped veggies, cooked meats, and potatoes in a base of fermented wheat drink. It's mead stew. That's mead stew.
I want some. I'm just like, I need big stew.
Her hands motioned in a chef's kiss. The thought of soup did sound nice, especially with how weird his stomach had been feeling lately. I'm going to sit over there, so come join me once you're done. Indigo pointed to an empty table and winked before walking away with her tray. Sasha just nodded. Even though he was ravenous, Sasha didn't really feel like eating much. Soup and water were enough. I miss greasy burgers. He turned into season 1 Philip J. Fry just then. While Sasha grabbed his tray in turn, he noticed another person now sitting at the table with Indigo. His body grew tense for a moment. Wait. As he approached the table, the person Indigo was sitting next to was instantly familiar. Hey Sasha, remember me from yesterday? I helped you. Because you were lost. In the hallway? You were lost in the hallway and I helped? His voice trailed off quietly towards the end as he stared at his coffee. Sasha set his tray down with a small smile. Yeah, I remember, you know, since I was there. Good, I'm glad you two already know each other. Nice to meet you, Sasha. Again. Sasha gave Jonas a grin before he grabbed his spoon and plunged it into his soup. He swirled the contents around and watched quietly. You got anything going on today, Jonas? Indigo took a bite from her bishki, a Russian variety of donut, wiping the powdered sugar off her lips with manicured fingers. I'm headed to see Dima after this. He wanted to talk. He shrugged. Honestly, I've been dying for another assignment. He had me doing recall all morning. Me?
Huh?
Oh, so Pav decided to go ahead and pull the drug? Yeah, and now we're working overtime to get all the supply back to HQ. Sasha's brow furrowed as he lifted his head up from his soup. Oh, we sound like it's not going to be your problem anymore. That's good, right? Oh, absolutely. I've been nagging Dima for a field job. Jonas grinned before taking a sip of his coffee. But Mishka always gets the good jobs. I've been on the back burner for a bit. Abruptly, Indigo smacked the man's arm as he sipped his coffee. Luckily, though, he didn't spill any. Hey! She jabbed her thumb in Sasha's direction. Oh, sorry, man. So... It's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but you're not the one who sent him out there, right? Sasha shrugged and took a bite of his food, holding the spoon in his mouth longer than usual. Right. More Dima's job, I guess.
So...
Anyway... Indigo shoved the rest of her bishki into her mouth before stacking everything onto her plate. Thanks to the recall, I've got a huge IT backlog to get through upstairs. Back to work for me. Yeah, I've got to run too. Same time tomorrow.
Yeah!
Of course, Sasha. Huh? Oh, yeah, I guess I could come eat too, shouldn't I? Yeah, you should. It's Taco Tuesday tomorrow, you gotta. Okay, yeah. Hey, if I were looking for Dima, where would I find him? The ever-elusive Busy King B is but a legend. To see him brings you good luck for 7 whole years. Indigo burst into laughter and grabbed her food tray. She stood, shaking her head. He's not a cryptid.
So,
Okay, look, if you want to find Dima, always try his office. Knock once, then go in. If you stand there knocking, he won't answer. You just gotta barge in. That or the training room. The guy's a beast. I always catch him in there. I don't know where either of those places are. Indigo rolled her eyes playfully and set the tray back down the table. Brandishing her phone, she quickly typed up the directions and hit send. Jonas stood as well and crumpled his trash into his hand. There, I sent you the directions. If you get lost, just call me. Sasha nodded and glanced down at his pocket. He reached inside, pulled out his phone and checked to make sure her message came through. Yeah, I got it, thanks. I'll try to come to lunch tomorrow. As best as he could, Sasha feigned a smile. Indigo beamed at him and picked up her tray once more, then headed over to the trash can and set it neatly on top. Jonas was close behind her, the two of them laughing and talking as they left. Sasha took a deep breath before standing up and bringing his half-eaten food to the tray. To the trash. He looked at Indigo's text as he made his way out of the hallway once more.
Okay.
Okay, so turn right at the third hallway from the cafeteria, then walk 10 paces past the restroom sign, and go through the door on your left. Indigo was the first girl. She's been the first female character we ran into.
I thought Sasha's friend.
Sasha's friend was a they, them.
Oh yeah. Never mind. Yeah, Indigo's the first girl.
Because I thought that one person in the flower shop, but that person was a trans man, not a trans woman. They were androgynous enough, I mistook them until I caught that pronoun. What the hell? She wrote this like a treasure map. Sasha scratched the back of his head, careful not to touch a sore spot before he pocketed his phone. I'll just figure it out. After getting lost for a good 15 minutes, he wandered across a sky bridge over the lobby and began to hear the sound of people lifting weights. Sasha drew near to the noise and peeked around a set of large double doors. What he saw was not what he would have expected of a corporate training room. It had all the typical workout equipment of a normal training room, but also had much more than that. It was massive, a full-blown gymnasium. Many mats lined the floor and were accompanied by a few sets of parallel bars, aerial silks, free weights, machines, and a full-blown obstacle course. Jesus! His gaze swept over people punching and kicking padded enemies and climbing along the large rock wall at the farthest side of the gym. No wonder I can never keep up with Mishka. Shaking the thought from his head, Sasha snuck through the door and hugged the wall. He stepped cautiously while he looked around. Keep your knees hip distance apart and ground yourself with the opposite leg. Your hips carry a lot of motion. Use them. Sasha turned his head to see two people over on the mats. He furrowed his brows and started making his way over. Good, that's a good start. I want you to do 15 pull-ups, 4 sets. Go ahead and start on the smaller bar over there and we'll move you up later. Hey! Sasha felt his fingers curl into fists as he approached. A heavy frown spread across his face. Dima turned his head surprised. His gaze narrowed on Sasha, then returned to the trainee. Keep going. 1 minute rest between sets. I'll be with you shortly.
Are you kidding me?
Did you even hear me? Dima turned and closed the distance between them. He set his hands firmly on his hips as he stopped and stared down at Sasha. I'm a little busy. What do you need? Sasha scoffed, glanced over at the trainee before picking his attention back to Dima. I need you to give me some answers about what happened to Mishka. The taller man tilted his head, sighing softly. I don't know what answers you think I have. I think you know more than you're telling me. Sasha, I told you I'm busy. I don't have time. Then make time. Sasha huffed and looked around before lowering his voice. You at least owe me that. Did you forget the part where I got a fucking concussion because of the mess you made? Dima scowled and turned to leave, but Sasha grabbed his arm and squeezed. Hey, don't walk away from me! Let go of my arm. I said I need answers. I said let go. With his arm still caught in Sasha's firm grip, Dima wrapped his fingers around Sasha's elbow and yanked him forward. One fell swoop, he swiped Sasha's leg and sent him to the ground. Sasha grimaced when his back hit the mat behind him.
Seriously?
What the hell? I told you to let go of my arm. Dima stared down at him and reached his hand out, offering to help Sasha back up. Sasha smacked it away. Sasha got to his feet and patted the front of his pants. I'll tell you what I saw that night. Give me some real answers and I'll talk. You said you don't remember.
Ugh.
I don't. I mean, I remember other stuff about that day in general. Sasha felt his heart rise, felt heat rise to his cheeks as he grew more flustered. So do you have a deal or what? At that point, Dima couldn't help but smile. You cannot come in here making demands. At least he's persistent.
Ugh.
What's so funny? Your audacity. Look, Sasha. Pav said that you'd like to help people, so what about me? Searching Sasha's face for a moment, Dima finally sighed and gave in.
Alright.
Alright. Alright? I'll answer your questions if I can, and then you'll answer mine. That was your deal, right? That's what I said, didn't I? You seem incredibly impatient for someone with nothing but time. Whatever, I go first.
Alright.
Of course. Why'd you send Mishka on such a dangerous job that night? I didn't send him on a job. He said he had something they needed to do, so obviously you did, or someone else giving orders here? Sounds like another question. It's my turn. You barely answered mine. That's not how this works. What was Mishka doing at the club that night? I had a drug drop for my boss. Mishka just tagged along. Who's your boss? That sounded like another question. Isn't that what you just said? Dima shook his head. Okay, fine. It's your turn then. Yeah, that's what I thought. He's mouthy. See that both of them have that in common. You said you didn't send Mishka out on a job, but someone said you're in charge of him. So what's the question? What's the truth? What was he doing that night? I don't know what he was doing. There was no job. However, he called me earlier that evening. He said he felt like he was being followed. So he was acting weird. That wasn't just my imagination. You didn't do anything even after he called you? I had someone sweep the area and we didn't find anyone. So he gave the all clear. That's all I could do. You should have done more. Is he just expendable to you? Sasha's stomach twisted as he said it. Dima's fingers flexed, nails digging into his palm as he briefly clenched his hand into a fist. His nostrils flared and he looked away from Sasha. Quietly, he asked his next question. Do you remember who attacked you? I didn't get a good look at anyone. Was it just one person or more? Would I look this bad if it were one person? Depends on how well you can fight. Sorry, I'm not a trained assassin. Dima rubbed the back of his neck, and a faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying you don't look like a fighter. It's your question now. That was a weak save, but okay. So he was being followed, and then he went off on his own, and he got hurt. Hurt badly enough to call me. So then why does... His words tried to form, but instead a heavy feeling sank to the bottom of Sasha's stomach. He turned his gaze away, and his shoulders slumped. Dima watched without a word, his expression softening after a few quiet seconds.
Sasha.
Why does Mishka work here? Why is he involved in all this? A long time ago, he needed my help. We decided that we'd help each other, and he's been here ever since. It's not really my place to say more. It's your question. Oh, it's your question. Okay. Do you really not remember, or is that you don't want to talk about it? I almost died that night, Mishka. I might never see him again. Even saying it made Sasha feel sick. Sasha. I remember, I just don't think I'm ready to talk about it yet. I understand. I apologize if I pushed you too far. I'm sorry for this whole situation. You should get some rest. Dima grabbed the strap off his duffel bag and set it on his shoulder. What do you mean? I still have questions. And I'm sure you can keep me up all night with them. But we both need a good night's rest if we're going to find Mishka. But... what are you planning to do? How can we get Mishka back? How much longer until we do something? Sasha reached out and grabbed Dima's arm. His heart hammered away in his ears, and his head felt foggy, too foggy. Sasha. Wait, what's happening? Sasha, can you hear me? Dima's voice sounded so far away. And he died. Type it in chat, I can't hear you. Sasha's eyes slowly floated open. He grimaced as light flooded in and he stirred awake. What the hell? Dima's arm wrapped around Sasha's back, keeping him upright. His other hand pressed to Sasha's neck, feeling for a pulse. Hey, why are you... How much have you eaten since you've been here? Dima was so close. His cologne is so subtle. Sasha blinked in surprise and he pressed his hands against Dima's chest, leaning his head back. I'm fine. I ate a little bit this morning. Oh. Clearly not enough. You passed out. I'll call the clinic. I don't need all that. I'll just order something to my room. It's fine. To further prove how fine he was, he tried to stand. Sorry, now I'm trying to keep an eye on this advertisement setup because it says it'd give me a warning, but I want to double check. I'm keeping an eye on it. Okay. Tried to, anyways. His legs still felt like jelly, but he was already feeling his energy return. Just help me up. Sasha clumsily grabbed Dima's arm, helping himself back to his feet. Dima didn't let go until Sasha was standing. Sasha, I really recommend you. I'm fine, see? Sasha took only one step before he faltered and grabbed Dima again. Don't say anything. I wasn't going to. Sasha pushed away from Dima and started toward the door, skin completely flushed and hot. Dima called out after him with a smile. Go to the clinic. I'm fine. His voice echoed in the hallway as Sasha left the gym and turned the corner. What a brat. Beep. When Dima entered his apartment, he took off his shoes and let his bag fall to the ground. A few careful steps carrying him to the bench placed against the foyer wall. Wait a second. Why does he have a big-ass battery on a shelf? Like, just a giant... The world's largest D battery. Right there. It's distracting. Dima sat down and pressed a button on the side of his prosthetic leg. He is an amputee, I knew it. A low hiss filled the room. Pressurized air escaped the device, loosening its hold and allowing him to remove it. A more comfortable replacement lay propped up against the bench. He reached over and grabbed it. But instead of immediately fitting it over his thigh, Dima sat there for a moment with his hand resting on the firm surface. He sighed and closed his eyes. Is he just expendable to you? Ugh. Dima felt an ache in his chest as Sasha's words replayed in his mind. He leaned back against the wall. That's not true. I'm not like him. I'm not like him.
Roman!
Really? How could you leave him behind? He risked his life for you. That's his job. He knew what he was getting into. There was time. He was still a person. How could you leave him there? There was still time. Since when did you care about him? They're only here to make sure we survive so we keep this city afloat. They're people, not pawns. The plan always comes first, Dimitri. We're changing Sabanya for the better. Compared to that, they are expendables. No one is. Should I be worried you'll leave me to die as soon as it's for the plan, right? Ugh. Dima lifted his hands to rub his face. How could I let things get this bad? Oh, phone going off. Sasha, come to the 4th floor after you eat. I need help, please. Oh, what about? Okay, I'll be up in a bit. Yay, I'll see you soon. If I don't get lost again. Sasha stared down at the message, eyes blurred, and yawned. Sasha scratched his head as he walked down the now all too familiar hallway. His sneakers gave off the odd squeak against the tiled floor. He was too tired to lift his feet much. He's lucky I couldn't go back to sleep. It's way too early. Savory aromas permeated the hall as Sasha drew closer to the cafeteria. Right as he entered, someone came rushing toward him. Excuse me, I got to run by, Sasha. Sasha stepped into the side to avoid the man who almost spilt his coffee. Careful. No time. Sasha beamed with excitement. I got the field assignment. No more petty intel work. Glad you love your job so much? Sasha titled his head. Sasha probably supposed to be tilted his head. That's strike 2! One more strike, game company. And you're as evil as Konami.
You can't even read in the first place.
I can't even read in the first place. My peanut farm done went sour. My peanut farm done went sour. Done got bit by a copperhead.
My niece done got bit by a copperhead.
Head full of pudding. Why am I in such a fucking goofy mood this evening? As you watch Jonas idle in front of him, unable to stand still. Can't relate. The job's okay. I'm more psyched that Dima finally realized he's been sleeping on all this talent, and he pointed at his crotch. Jonas's coffee spilt over the edge of his cup as he motioned to himself. Shit, oh well, I got the bounce later, Sasha. Like a blur, Jonas waved and hightailed it out of there, leaving Sasha with an absent look on his face. Sasha couldn't help but smile a little. What a weird guy. Hey, so far he's been the least weird guy in this entire thing. Jonas has been the only normal one. I guess that's what makes him weird. He's like Tad Strange. After confiscating a cinnamon raisin swirl bagel, jelly, and a can of soda, Sasha headed out of the cafeteria towards the elevators. Once the doors opened, he stepped in and pressed the 4th Oh? I didn't realize I could... I've been hitting escape to get to that. Well, let's do a new save. There we go. Return. Resume. A ding. The elevator shook to a stop. When the heavy doors opened, Sasha was hit with a familiar smell of flowers and plant life. Sasha surveyed the area as he stepped out. The room was busier than the last time he was here, since it was no longer lunch hour. Several people with lab coats huddled over machinery that Sasha wouldn't be able to recognize even if he had aced chemistry. If Pavel was here, he would have surely heard him by now. Pav? Nothing. Sasha pursed his lips as he began searching for the purple-haired man. Are you looking for Pavel? Should be in the greenhouse. Ah, thanks. Do I seriously look that helpless? Jeez. Sasha shoved the rest of the bagel into his mouth and brushed the crumbs off his pants. Sasha pushed on the greenhouse door the employees had pointed to. It didn't open. He pushed again with a little more force and the door gave way, causing Sasha to almost fall. He cursed under his breath. Damn, fix your door. His eyes widened at the sight of the immaculate plant nursery. A tall, frosted glass ceiling illuminated an indoor jungle. Is this a greenhouse or an entire rainforest?
Hello?
Sasha, over here! A familiar face with a wide smile popped from behind a large plant before disappearing back underneath the foliage. I know it's foliage. I just like the way Marge says it. Well, this foliage.
Just can't read.
Sasha stuffed his hands in his pockets and made his way over. Pavel was wearing a purple apron and a pair of light purple gloves. A spray bottle clutched in his hand. He was misting the plants with water, his expression focused. Did you sleep well? How are you feeling today? Pavel chimed over his shoulder as he gently caressed the leaf of a specimen, spraying it liberally. Tired and sore, no thanks to Dima.
Oh!
Oh? Pavel lifted an accusatory eyebrow, twisting his face into a wicked grin. Is that so? I was in the gym yesterday and he tripped me. Don't make it weird. A likely story. I'm sure he could flip you all kinds of ways, Sasha. Why'd you call me up here? Oh, right. Bring me that bag of plant food and soil over there on the left. Lift with your knees.
Seriously?
What is this? Some sort of heavy lifting training exercise? Sasha went over to grab the bags Pavel had pointed to him in spite of his complaints. So, plants need food? Is this their breakfast hour? Sasha, morning was like 10 hours ago. Also, what are you saying? Yes, plants need food, you dummy. This is more like second lunch. Don't they just need dirt and water and stuff? Sasha shuffled over with the heavy bag and plopped them down on the wheeled cart next to Pavel. Popping up onto his feet from a crouch, Pavel nudged Sasha aside with his shoulder. He grabbed the top of the bag and tore off the plastic, keeping it sealed with his teeth like some sort of werewolf. Plants need way more than just dirt and water. What if someone gave you just dirt and water? He turned his head up towards his taller friend and raised both brows. I guess that'd be cool if all I did was sit in the ground all day. I'd throw you out the window if I wasn't totally in love with you. Pavel batted his eyelashes at Sasha before he dug his hands into a toolbox nearby, brandishing a tiny shovel. He then shoved it into Sasha's hands. Plants need nurturing, monitoring, tending, watering, and feeding. And sure, we've got to make every choice you make for the well-being of the plant is beneficial. If not, you got to adjust or make changes or problem solve. Plants are a lot like us, you know? Sasha wasn't sure how to answer. If I'm like a plant, then I'm probably withered by now. Anyways, where should I put this dirt? Pavel raised his hand and motioned towards a tray of dying plants with a gentle smile.
So,
Start digging tiny holes in a row, and we'll put the cartons in one by one. But only do the holes for now. You can dig a hole, right? Yeah, it's getting back out that I need to work on. Sasha, that's deeper than the hole you should be digging. Sasha rotated the tiny shovel in his hand. Never seen one this small before. He chuckled quietly to himself and crouched down near the dirt. Digging the small holes made him feel like he was back in grade school, playing in the dirt and pretending to bury treasure or plant flowers with his class. Pavel leaned over, hovering near Sasha's shoulders to watch him. Oh yeah, good hole. Keep digging. Are you crating me? Go feed plants or something. I am. You stick to your holes. Sasha laughed as he continued shoveling the soil. He glanced over at the flowers on the tray. Hey, aren't these flowers dead? You might just be better off tossing them. Plants are more resilient than we give them credit for. Even a withered flower can bloom again. Sometimes they just need fresh soil and a new environment. Sasha smiled and returned to digging. Looking to his right, he spotted a vibrant purple plant. Dark berries surrounded by small thorns hung from the plant. The leaves looked like velvet, and Sasha instinctively reached out to touch them. Pavel glanced over and swatted Sasha's hand away. His eyes widened and his brows furrowed. Ow! Do not touch that. It's deadly nightshade, and it's incredibly poisonous. He said matter-of-factly, holding up his gloved hands for emphasis.
Huh?
Poisonous? Then why do you have it? Pavel turned his attention towards the plant and gave a soft smile. His gloved hand cupped a cluster of berries. Well, it's not just poisonous, it's been used for all sorts of medicinal, cosmetic, and genetic purposes, too. His purple eyes fixated on the plant, and his head tilted a little as he spoke. The plant has so much good inside of it, and I want to be the one to help nurture that. I think we all deserve to be believed in. Sasha watched quietly, his shoulders dropping. When I was a young boy, my father took me... Pavel shook his head and sighed, his expression softened. Pav? Can I tell you something? It's a bit heavy, honestly. He tried to laugh, but the feeling of sheepishness kept him from being able to. Sasha lifted a hand and scratched at the back of his neck, shrugging a little. I mean, I'm here, so why not? When I was at my lowest point, I wanted to tear the whole world apart. I wanted everyone to hurt the way I was hurting, and I was really hurting. And then out of nowhere, even if I might not have deserved it, someone saw the good in me. Vadim saw the good in me. Someone saw the good in me and when I was poisonous to myself and to others. Knowing that someone believed in me, that was enough for me to begin healing my own anger, my own pain. I didn't want someone to swoop in and save me. It wasn't like that, I couldn't see the part of me that he saw, the part of me that I had ripped apart. The person I tore down, criticized, and bullied for so long was myself. Vadim just pointed that out. He uncovered the soil and showed me the seed I thought I had destroyed. He showed me the compassion I wanted to give to myself. And that gave me a reason to try. He believed in me, even when I couldn't. The compassion he showed me turned to self-compassion. My self-compassion helped me to heal, to grow, and to forgive myself. Pavel caressed the flower between his thumb and index finger, staring at it with adoration.
We aren't so different, you know?
We aren't so
Plants
different,
and people,
you and I.
mean.
Silence grew between the two. Sasha smiled faintly down at his friend.
Anyway...
The complexities of it all are what make it so beautiful. The plant, I mean. And it's been extremely helpful with my new drug. Pavel's shoulders slumped and he leaned back into his heels. New drug? Is that what you're working on up here? Pavel's eyes lit up and he directed a wide smile Sasha's way. He turned his entire body toward his friend. Okay, so I've been keeping it under wraps, but... Sasha's face was blank with confusion, but he leaned in as if expecting a secret. I'm working on creating a party drug that has no addictive properties. Is that possible? I'm gonna make it possible, yes. Using the medicinal properties of the plant's genetic code, I'm going to find a way to give people the high they want without the addiction. Sasha's eyes glazed over, unable to fully comprehend just what Pavel was explaining. Either way, it sounded complicated. And is that working? With a big sigh, Pavel's head drooped. He raised an arm and slung it dramatically over his face. No! So far I've only hit, what, 10 dead ends? Probably more if you consider how many of the plants just died. Do you know how difficult it is to splice a bunch of plant DNA together and have it work? It's super hard. And the side effects are setting me back. He lowered himself to the ground where he stood, laying flat on the floor. He pressed his face into the tile and exhaled loudly. Sasha watched as Pavel deflated on the ground and couldn't help but to smile to himself. But you'll figure it out, right? Pavel heaved another dramatic sigh and turned his head to look at Sasha. Yeah, you're right, I will. Now go put those bags of soil back where you found them. And after I was so nice and encouraging. Grabbing one of the bags of dirt, Sasha carried it back over to the shelf. Crash. Sasha lifted the bag back onto the old shelf. The weight of the bag caused the wood to crack and the shelf came crashing down. Several cardboard boxes toppled over, spilled their bagged contents near Sasha's feet.
What the hell?
What was that? Sasha, I swear if you broke anything, I'll have you digging tiny baby holes in the greenhouse for months. Pavel remained face down on the floor. It's not even that bad. I'll pick it up. Just go back to sleep or whatever. This isn't sleeping. It's top-tier moping. Sasha kneeled down and started scooping the scattered baggies onto the pile. Then he stopped. Sasha grabbed one of the baggies and lifted it to his face. Wait, this is NS. Sasha turned to Pavel and held the baggie of the tablets up. Pavel lifted his head to squint at it. Yes, it is. The latest strain was a bust, though. It's just as addictive as anything else out there, so I recalled it a few days ago. Pav rested his head back down on the floor. Yep, a complete failure. And that's all the little failures. That's all the little failure duds, combined in a boxes of failure. Huh? What's up? Nothing, just remembering that my boss had me bring a last-minute shipment of this stuff on my day off. Pavel chuckled, his voice muffled on the floor. You're a delivery boy? I'm a dealer. I'd make a horrible delivery boy. Pav's head popped up off the ground again. Wait, if you're a dealer, the only deliveries you should be making are to buyers. Sasha shrugged as he continued cleaning the pile of bag tablets off the floor. Right. I usually just grab the shipments and sell them. Pavel pushed himself up off the ground, his brow furrowed as he eyed Sasha. Feeling Pavel's gaze, Sasha looked up. Yeah? Who's your boss? Before Sasha could open his mouth to speak, the door to the greenhouse flew open.
Hey!
Pav, are you here? Sasha and Pavel turned towards the sound heels, walking briskly where they stood. Pavel brushed the front of his apron off. Wait, give me a second. I'm going to set up an advertisement to try to prevent future advertisements. And also so I can get a drink refill and do a couple other things. We're going to try to do this stuff. We're going to try to be a little more proper, be a little better than how we've been doing. Alright, so you'll see me in a second. I hit the advertisement button. Alrighty, here we go. Man. I'm back from outer space. Walked in, find you here. Upside your face. My partner's feeling like crud, so I helped them set up their chicken broth soup. You're fine. You're gonna be a higher priority than this stream. Always. It's part of the appeal. Sasha and Pavel turned towards the sound of heels walking briskly where they stood. Pavel brushed the front of his apron off. I've been looking everywhere for you two, though honestly I should have checked here first. Regardless, there's something I need you to see. Huh? What is it? Oh good, we get all the high-pitched characters in the same room. Pavel glanced between Sasha and Indigo for a moment and approached her. So yesterday I was logging Jonas's recall report, and at first I didn't notice anything. But after reviewing Vadim's last inventory sheets at the flower shop, the numbers weren't adding up. With a plum pad in her hand, Indigo quickly tapped into the device and flipped it through to show a large color-coded map. Sasha blinked and looked a few steps closer, leaning into the map more closely. What's not adding up? Talk to me like I'm 5. There's more NS in the city than there should be. Pavel furrowed his brows and stared at her for a moment, a rigid tension settling over his body. Sasha leaned even closer to the map, staring at the street names and color codes. Indigo adjusted the angles of her plum pad to accommodate him.
What the hell?
But how could there be? The only stock distributed was through the flower shop, and it wouldn't have been... And it should have all been pulled by Jonas. I'm not sure. Then where the hell is it coming from? It looks like the numbers spiked in these 2 locations, more on the south side than anything. That's not our territory. I know this area. Orisha lives around here. This has to be Ecto. This reeks of Ecto, doesn't it? Where's all the supply coming from, huh? Pavel groaned and pinched the bridge of his nose. Sasha's eyes remained rigid on one particular street name. Wait. We should take this information to Dima and... this street right here, Kempa? Sasha reached over Indigo's shoulders and pointed at the spot on the plum pad. Pavel's gaze was stern for a moment as he watched Sasha. That's where Alexei, my boss, mentioned taking the NS I dropped off, the night Mishka was taken. Sasha's stomach twisted when he said it out loud. Indigo clutched the plum pad and turned her head back to Pavel, exchanging worried looks. How much NS did you bring him? Nothing crazy, just one small box. But I know he mentioned something about taking it to a warehouse on Kempa. Pavel froze in place, staring at Sasha intensely. Indigo glanced between them and gripped her tablet. Pav, we should... Get my car and call Vadim. We're leaving immediately. Can you get me the address of that warehouse? Pavel briskly pulled his gloves off as he spoke, leaving no time for her to respond. Forward it to the dashboard when you do, please. Indigo shook her head and took a step forward towards her smaller friend. Pav, I really think we should wait for Dima. We can't get clearance for a last-minute operation. No, I'm waiting for his approval. That's my drug out there. Pavel, please. Jonas is going to go out in the field tonight and we'll be occupied. I won't be able to back you up if you need... I only need that address in my car, nothing else. Dima doesn't need to know everything. Okay, please, but only stake it out. Don't engage, don't go in. Just get some intel, come back. And we'll go from there, okay? Sure. Just a stakeout. I'll talk to Dima, see if we can get a team to go in tomorrow. Pavel said nothing. Yeah, no, this is fucking... That's what I was telling Mink during the break. I was like, man, these are like the 3 hottest characters in the game for me. And it sucks that they're all going to be serious right now. And one of them's going to lose their foot. Pavel said nothing. I'm joking. Dima already lost his foot. Yes. Well, he pulled his leg off and waved it around alone in his apartment before he put on a more comfortable foot. You were in the bathroom when that happened.
Well, I mean, I beat the game.
Yeah, I know you already beat the game. Pavel said nothing as he started packing a small purple bag.
I got a good end.
Not the good end, just a good end.
There are multiple good ends.
Yeah, but there's a best end, right?
No.
Oh.
Well, I got what I consider the best end.
Pav. Does Alexei have something to do with what happened to Mishka? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Then I'm coming with you. Pavel tosses the purple bag towards Sasha, who caught it with a slight stumble. It's a little heavier than he expected. Sasha slid the backpack on without a second thought. All right, let's go. Indigo moved to say something but stopped. Indigo, please call Vadim. Indigo sighed, her shoulders drooped slowly. Okay, please be safe. Sasha, let's move. Wasting no further time, Pavel hurried towards the greenhouse door and immediately darted into the elevators. Sasha was right on Pavel's heels. Gripping the straps to the backpack, unease crept through him the second the elevator door closed. Suddenly turns into XCOM. The elevator ride down to the lower level parking garage was quiet, neither Pavel nor Sasha breaking the silence. Pavel said he doesn't know if Alexei has anything to do with Mishka's kidnapping, but we're going to find out. The elevator came to a smooth stop. Pavel impatiently hit the button to open the doors. Sasha followed Pavel out and noticed an expensive sports car parked just... He was the sports car from earlier! Pavel's a transformer! I'm a regular what?
Draw detective, you know that?
Yeah, I am a draw detective.
You're just as good at detectiving as they are.
Its paint was a pearlescent violet, like a shade of nail polish he'd find in his mom's vanity. The sleek two-door design made Sasha wonder if it was a car or a space pod. Since it's getting grittier, I have to use the grittier narrator voice, right? The driver's side the driver's side door opened upward and Vadim stepped out of the vehicle. That's right. I saw that car at the shop. The flower shop. Is this yours? Vadim stared at Sasha for a moment before eyeing Pavel. Uh-huh, now get in. Pavel opened the passenger side door and pulled the seat forward to make room for Sasha to climb in. Once his... okay, the car pod background's a little goofy for me. Once his friend is inside, Pavel jerked the seat back in place and wasted no time settling in and buckling up. It's his car, but I drive. Vadim slid back inside the vehicle, pushing a button on the middle console to close the doors. He placed one hand on the wheel and rested the other on the gear shift. Pavel, do you want to tell me what we're doing? Sasha's lips pressed into a thin line as he set Pavel's backpack on the seat next to him. Ecto is mass-producing NS, the drug we pulled off the streets, so we're going to pay them a visit. Reaching forward to check the coordinates of the dashboard in front of them, Pavel's brow furrowed. The GPS should take us there, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a jammer nearby, so we'll play it by ear. Sasha watched the projected GPS with apprehension. Motherfuckers think they can pull the wool over my eyes! Okay, Indigo sent the location, so I assume she knows what we're doing. But does Dima know? That doesn't matter right now. Pav, this sounds reckless. They might know where Mishka is. Sasha gripped the back of Pavel's seat. Try Vadim. Vadim said nothing more, just shifted the car into gear and peeled smoothly out of the garage into the main road. Okay, the road effect behind them just makes me think they're like spinning rapidly, sort of like the vehicles in the second Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Like it's like they're in Monkey Ball or something. The desolate night roads became darker the further away they drove from Strex HQ. The city skyline now in the rearview mirror. Can you go any faster?
Seriously?
Faster? I feel like we're flying already.
Pav.
I'm not endangering our lives to shave off 5 minutes. Take a deep breath. Okay, fine. Pavel turned around and peered into the back seat, glancing from Sasha to the backpack next to him. Sasha, reach into that bag there, careful, and hand me the pistol in it, please. Keep the barrel pointed down. Thank you. Sasha stared at Pavel, stunned. The what? Yeah, I didn't think guns existed in this. Like, everyone is putting such emphasis on knives and bladed weapons. I didn't expect there to be projectile weaponry. The pistol inside the bag, please. Hand it to me. But that's good power scaling. That makes a gun an actual threat. Like, it actually puts a tone to it in the story. Eyes wide, Sasha looked back down at the backpack and unzipped it. Eyes wide, Sasha looked back down into the backpack and unzipped it, reaching a cautious hand inside. His fingers touched something cold. He pulled the gun out gingerly, as though it were a live bomb. When the light hit the metallic surface of the pistol, Sasha noticed intricate flower designs engraved into the metal. Whoa. Here. Thank you, you're the best. Pavel settled down into his own seat and rested the pistol in his lap. Okay, GPS says we're closing in. Turn the lights off, Vadim. Sasha, stay in the car. Sasha's stomach flipped and he shook his head. The possibility of Mishka being inside that warehouse was enough for him to unbuckle his seatbelt. No, I'm going with you. Stay close then. Whoa. This scientist kind of looks like a tabletop character I ran almost a decade ago for 2 years.
Look at their time.
Yeah, he's got a legally distinct green slime ghost.
It's a frog.
Yeah, I know, it's a happy green frog. It just looks like Alphonse to me. I gotta do that nerd voice. My formula. The molecular compound is holding well, especially when we compare it to the original equation. Okay, wise guy, what the fuck does that mean exactly? It means the drug is stable and the replication near perfect. Then just say it's working, Emerson. It's working. The person in the lab coat held a clipboard close to their chest, absently tapping their fingers along the wooden backing. They eyed the henchman idly, walking about the warehouse, then turned back to Alexei. How many units did Roman request? Shit, I don't know. As many as we can make until he tells us to stop. I don't care as long as I'm getting what he promised me. Right, well, it appears we got about 5 tons here. If we continue at this rate, though, through the night, we should have an additional 2 or 3 tons and be ready to start distribution as soon as tomorrow. The chemist flipped the paper on the clipboard, scanning the revealed charts. Good. I'll start feeding it out to the dealers. Oh, shit. Sorry. The shot, like, legitimately startled me. I did not expect that. That was good. Bang. Bang. Emerson whipped around and darted behind Alexei, their clipboard clutched like a shield in front of them and their eyes wide. What the? Bang. What the fuck was that? Vadim... Okay, fucking... Vadim's like actually ready for a fight. And fucking... But Sasha is emanating Karen energy right now. Like, he looks like he wants to talk to a manager. He's not here to start shit.
All he can do.
Vadim reloaded his gun and pointed the barrel towards Alexei.
Somehow I'm not surprised to see your face, Alexei. What the hell?
Even after all this shit I've done for you, I'm still not surprised you're at the other end of this. Emerson shifted his stare from Vadim's gun to Pavel. Huh, they've been using they-them for Emerson until that point. Peering over Alexei's shoulder intently. Sasha gripped the straps of the backpack on his shoulders tightly, his heart racing. Someone made me a better deal, Pav. You know how this world works. The people of Sabania love your drug. You should be proud. Proud? A panicked henchman near Alexei reached for his gun. Bang.
We're getting to one of my favorite CGs in this.
One of your favorite what?
CGs. Big picture, special picture.
Oh, special picture. Sasha watched the man drop to the ground.
Else moves.
Okay, there it is. There's the moment that got me to like Vadim. I like that controlled energy just then. Sasha's gaze remained fixed on the man's body, writhing on the ground. Hey, I'm sure he worked something out. Hands raised, Alexei took a cautious step forward. Bang. He jumped back, eyeing the small hole in the ground before him. I said don't move. Pavel shoved his hand and snarled at Alexei. NS wasn't complete, it wasn't ready. I pulled that shit off the streets and here you are, defiling it and sending it back out there. And you? Whoever you are. Emerson. They said their name with a hint of embarrassment, then frowned in confusion as Pavel's words said again. It wasn't ready? Emerson stepped down behind Alexei. The sample Alexei brought here, I studied it thoroughly. That one?
Yeah.
Pavel reached inside his jacket and whipped out his flowery purple pistol. He aimed the weapon at Emerson, hand steady. They glanced at the pointed gun and took a hesitant step back. The ability to chemically induce euphoria in the user is such a unique way. It's actually quite beautiful. I just don't quite understand. What about it is flawed exactly?
No.
How dare you call yourself a chemist? You took my project, my equations, my work, an imperfect product, and you smear your shit all over it? I'm a freaking demon. I'm an artist! Sorry, he's giving me energy of, shit, he plays Syndrome and The Incredibles. He's also in Dogma, but he plays the best character in Dogma. An artist, a freaking demon. And that's saying something. Dogma has a perfect cast. Everyone's doing A+. Sasha quickly looked away. He'd seen enough people shot tonight to last a lifetime, and he didn't want to see another. And you both thought you'd get away with it? That I wouldn't see it? But Pavel, it's not imperfect. Your drug worked. No, it doesn't. The drug failed. It's just as addictive as the others. It completely failed. Yeah. As addictive? What are you trying to... Cut the small talk, Emerson. Come on, Pav. We can be reasonable. I worked with you all these years. You know me. Pavel tightened his grip on the pistol and adjusted his aim. The barrel now pointed directly at Alexei. Who'd you sell to? I didn't sell to no one, Sasha. You want to vouch for me here? Where's Mishka? What? Where's Mishka? Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. He's lying. Pavel cocked his gun. Answer him. I don't know what he's talking about. Pav, you know I only had the success of the drug in mind. No, you only thought about how much money you could make. You betrayed my trust, my product, and my vision. Who are you working for? Who cut you the deal? Alexei, don't. Ugh. Tell me now. Yeah. Ugh. Pavel glared between the two. Keeping the gun pointed forward, he held out a hand towards Sasha. Sasha? Sasha looked up at Pavel. Sasha looked up at Pavel, eyes wide. Open the bag. Sasha let the backpack slide off his shoulders enough for him to open it. He pulled the zipper so fast that it jammed before it got free with a few frantic tugs. Now take out the tube that's in there and crack it. Sasha reached in and pulled the tube out. It looked like a road flare. Took a bit more force than expected, but Sasha managed to crack it against his leg. Once he heard it start to fizzle, he handed the stick off to Pavel. Ugh. Is that? Oh no, he's gonna hit him! He's gonna hit him with the ooze! Do either of you know what happens when potassium permanganate and glycerol come into contact? Oh, say, in a tube-like container. You have 3 minutes to get out if you don't want to burn down with the slab. Pavel wound his arm back and tossed the tube into the lab tables nearby, their surfaces covered in documents and newly packaged drugs. Fuck yeah. Horrified, Emerson lunged towards one of the tables and desperately tried to shove baggies of NS into their coat. Bang. 2 minutes now, go! Emerson recoiled and dropped the supplies when the bullet grazed their shoulder. Panicked, they retreated, holding their wound as they stumbled towards the exit and disappeared. Wow, like they them'd Emerson the whole time except for that one pronoun. I'm curious if I misread that. Flames leapt from the now burning tables and large clouds of smoke began to fill the room, rising towards the ceiling. Fuck this! Despite Pavel's 2-minute warning, the chemical fire had already started to engulf the lab equipment. The flames roared higher as they burned the NS. Ugh. The moment smoke was detected, the alarm systems went off, echoing loudly across the warehouse. Pavel reached into the bag on Sasha's shoulder and pulled out a second tube, cracking on his leg, and he threw it to the other table. Smoke continued to billow towards the ceiling, large plumes, towering higher and higher, and began darker and darker. Pav, Sasha, we have to go now. We have to go. Now. Pavel grabbed for Sasha's hand and wound his fingers around his friend's. Without another word, he tugged Sasha along after Vadim. Breaking into a run, the 3 of them hurried back into the car. Ada watched from the safety of a nearby roof as workers ran from the burning building. The warehouse groaned with the shifting of hot metal and wood. Unfazed by the roar of the fire, he kept his gaze locked onto the warehouse entrance. When 3 more figures fled the building and sped away in a purple car, Ada disappeared. Vadim blazed down the highway at breakneck speed, the purple sports car weaving between lanes with expertise. His fingers tightened on the steering wheel when he shifted gears and sped up. We're going to have to talk about this. Pavel, who was typing aggressively on his phone, stopped and looked up at Vadim. Sasha sat on the back seat, staring at his hands in silence. I don't know what was going through your head back there, Pav, but that was uncalled for. Stopping Ecto from distributing my drug was uncalled for? No, but I wish you had told me what we were getting into. You burned a building to the ground on an impulse. Pavel's hands gripped his phone tight. I had no choice. It'd be better to burn a dozen warehouses down and let that drug back into the city. If Ecto had distributed the drug, I understand what was at stake. You still should have told me. We'll talk about this later. Okay. Silence filled the car yet again. The weight of what just happened felt heavier on Sasha's heart by the second. Alexei was there that night at the club. There's no way he isn't connected to all of this. But it doesn't make any sense. He said he knew nothing. Was he lying? Sasha laced his fingers and squeezed them tight, wringing them together while he stared out the window.
Sasha.
Sasha. Huh? Sasha turned his head towards Pavel, who was staring at him over the front passenger seat with concern. Are you okay? No, Alexei, he didn't know anything? About Mishka? I thought we were getting closer to finding him. Sasha felt his chest tighten, nausea stirring from his unsettled stomach. We are. What do you mean? We don't know anything. They were mass-producing NS, and we caught them doing it. It's not a far reach to think they kidnapped Mishka, too. I still don't understand. What would they want with Mishka? They probably thought he interfered. Or maybe he found something. He might have posed a threat to them. Mishka's in the room with me when I dropped off the NS drug. Alexei was lying. He had to have been. Mishka's in the room with me when I... Oh my god. Sasha's voice was wavering. Suddenly he felt his throat tighten. His heart raced almost as quickly as his thoughts. I asked him to come with me that night if I had just gone alone. Sasha, that wasn't something you could control. But he wasn't supposed to be there. I'm the reason he was there. He didn't even want to go. You're not the reason Mishka was taken. You're not responsible for the choice other people make. So please stop punishing yourself. We will find Mishka, whatever it takes. The car grew quiet. Sasha's hands curled tightly around the hem of his shirt. I'm in way over my head. Sasha's brows furrowed as he watched the shadowed trees pass outside his windows. There's gotta be another way.
Take me to Dima.
I'm ready to
I'm
talk.
ready to talk.
Oh, whoa, well, sorry, I didn't realize that was gonna be an actual line. I don't know what to do, man. What are we even going to say? Lifting a hand to rub at the soot stains on his cheek, Alexei paced back and forth outside the executive office. He dared not go into. The truth. The chemist pressed a cloth to their shoulder, wincing at the stinging sensation. Are you fucking stupid? Disbelief crossed his face for a moment, while he ran his shaking hand through his hair. The whole thing burned down. We can't cover that up. I can't cover that up. God damn it, what are we gonna do? Fuck. Okay, no, shut up. I think I got it. Okay, yeah, well, I tell him it was an electrical fire. That shit happens, right? Electricals catch on fire. Sure. You don't say a fucking word, got it? Not a single fucking word. I got this. Handle this. We'll be in and out. It'll be fine. The echoing sound of approaching footsteps down the hall stopped short of the two outside the office. Hey, Roman's looking for you guys. He sent me out here to find you. Thanks, Riker. Fuck, okay, let's go. Right, well, good luck. Turning on his heel, the tall, red-headed man started back in the direction he came, hands deep in his pockets. Alexei opened the door by grabbing the handle and leaning against it. He stepped inside and left enough space for the chemist to follow behind him. Is that so? Ada nodded, clasping his hands behind his back while he stood near the chair Roman sat in. His gaze flickered towards the door as it opened. Roman leaned on the arm of his chair, his hand partially obscuring his mouth. His glare was cold, dark eyes shifting between the two who had just walked in. He said nothing as he idly tapped his upper lip. Roman, look, okay, now this is gonna sound like batshit wild, right? And it's kind of funny, but like, okay, so what happened was, I already know what happened. Ada rounded the chair and approached a dark, sleek desk. He opened the drawer with a soft creak and grabbed the pistol that was inside. Returning back to Roman's side, he held the weapon out to the silver-haired man without a word. Look, wait, I don't know, they were gonna show up. Is that not why we gave you guards? Pushing his chair back, Roman came to his feet. His eyes remained fixed on Alexei. But they... Emerson flinched as Alexei's body fell to the floor beside him. Roman pulled the slider back of the handgun to reload the chamber before pointing it at Emerson. Pav's making a new drug. The chemist trembled violently. Their breaths staggered, heart hammering away in their chest. Every single second counted. Pavel, he's making a non-addictive drug. Yeah, it's called life. Good, he was a boring character anyways. Yeah, Alexei's been boring. That was his second scene, by the way. He was Sasha's boss. He showed up to pick up the drug, and then he showed up to watch the drug get burned down, and his third scene was getting shot. Ada glared at the chemist's direction. Oh, you're playing with your new earrings. Ada glared in the chemist's direction. His brows tense. He lifted his head up and took a step forward. If it were true, how could he have missed such a thing? Where did you get that information?
Ada.
Quiet. You have 30 seconds to explain. He kept saying the drug was imperfect, that it was flawed. Roman tilted his head ever so slightly to the side, watching the chemist with a haunting stare. He slowly lowered the pistol in his hand.
It's Pi Day. I missed Pi Day. It's Pi Day.
Go on.
3.14.
When I questioned why, he didn't answer me directly, only said it was too addictive compared to its predecessors. Make your point. Ada's fingers curled into tight fists. There was a subtle change in Emerson's expression as their thoughts came together, like pieces of a puzzle falling into place. They came to a realization. His vision, Pavel's vision. Happy Pi Day. NS was never meant to be a drug the city was dependent on. It was meant to be a drug to give autonomy back to the city. Subtle look of surprise crossed Ada's features. For no longer than a second, he turned his head towards Roman, and then back to Emerson. Roman's brow furrowed as the word set in. Autonomy? Does Dima not realize the city only stands because we're holding it up? Give those people an ounce of power, and Sobania will return to the worthless husk it was before we elevated it. This is... Roman hissed under his breath. This is the last time he'll undermine me. His face twisted into a scowl. Roman turned his gaze back towards Emerson. Was anything salvaged? No, I tried to grab what I could, but... They gestured to the bullet wound on their arm. Pavel wouldn't have it. Emerson glanced briefly towards Alexi's body and drew in a deep breath. I left before the building collapsed. Is that what you saw, Ada? Yes. I saw Emerson and Alexei leave the warehouse while it burned. And what of Pavel and Vadim? I assume he was with him? Yes, and there was also a third. A third? That moment, Roman turned to face Ada. Sasha was with them. Mishka's Sasha. The door flew open. Riker's urgency as apparent in his erratic breathing. His hand maintained a tight grip on the door handle. Sir, we've got eyes on a Strex agent snooping around the building. What should we do with him?
Ada, go take care of that.
Pulling up his mask to cover his face, Ada nodded and wasted no time hurrying out of the office. His departure was quiet and precise. Roman glared at Emerson. One more fuck-up and you're done. Emerson lowered their head and nodded. Find out what Pavel is making. Roman stepped over Alexei's body as he made his way to the door. Riker, clean this up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The street lights lining the hallway that they were driving down. The street lights lining the highway streamed past. The liminal space of the lanes left an unsettling heaviness in spite of in the pit of Sasha's stomach. The rest of the car ride back to Strexa building was quiet, and only accompanied by the hum of the car's engine and the occasional shift of gears. Neither Pavel nor Vadim said a word, both fixated on the road ahead. Sasha leaned his head against the cool window and left his eyes closed. Take me, Adima, I'm ready to talk. Mishka. His thoughts were interrupted when the car slowly pulled off an exit ramp and into the back roads. Sasha adjusted his position a little and pulled at the seatbelt across his chest. His fingers gripped the nylon tight. His hair smelled of smoke. Vadim pulled the car around a bend and into the parking garage. With expertise, he parked the sports car and shut off the engine. For a moment, no one moved. Pavel's fingers tapped at his knees and he toyed with a small piece of thread around the inseam of his pants. Okay, let's go talk to Dima. Pavel sighed with a nod. He opened the door and stepped out of the vehicle. Vadim followed suit, opening the door and moving the seat forward to give Sasha enough room to climb out. Vadim looked over at Pavel, who followed quietly behind him. Reaching out, Vadim grabbed Pavel's hand and intertwined their fingers. Pavel squeezed tight. Sasha started for the elevator and said nothing as all three of them stepped inside, the door closing soon after. Where is he? Most likely at Intel with Indigo. They're overseeing a field mission right now. I don't know where that is. We'll take you there. It didn't take long for the elevator to reach its destination. A single ding sound and the door opened into the Strexa halls. Sasha stepped out first and turned his head over his shoulder.
Pav.
Tell Dima that I saw what I saw that night will help us find Mishka, right? Pavel stared at Sasha for a moment, the corners of his mouth lifting to a gentle smile, and he nodded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Okay.
After I do, though, I'm staying. He's my best friend. I want to be there when we find him. Vadim gave a gentle tug to Pavel's hand and stepped out of the elevator. They're in the middle of a field mission, so be careful not to make too much noise. Vadim released Pavel's hand and pushed the door to the intel room open. Sasha briefly closed his eyes, trying to gather himself. After Vadim warned Sasha did his best to stay close to the far wall as he entered the room. Pavel followed close behind him. Careful, Jonas. There's a stairway to the left that I haven't mapped out yet. Wait for our drone to finish mapping the area. Gotcha. Wait until it's clear. Jonas. Sasha glanced over at Indigo, taking note of her headset and efficient way she navigated her giant 4-screen monitor setup. It was almost scary how fast her fingers moved across the keyboard. In a way, it was almost hypnotic. Dima leaned near the screens, his hand gripping the back of Indigo's chair.
All right.
Right there, see that? The vent there is big enough for him to get through. Have him bug the vents in the side hull. Has he bugged an area before? Hey, I've set the bugs before. Have some faith.
Dima.
Indigo glanced over his shoulder at the sound of Pavel's voice, then turned back to the screens. Dima stood upright and let his hand fall to the back of Indigo's chair. He crossed his arms and turned towards the three of them. I see you've all returned from your trip. Pavel flexed his fingers into fists, and he took a deep breath. Don't give me the disappointed dad look. I have a valid reason for what I did, so listen. Dima gazed, scanned across all of them before turning his attention back to Pavel.
All right.
I'm listening. Ecto stole and reproduced my NS in a warehouse. The drug that I pulled for being too addictive. Yeah, that one. That strain was too dangerous. I don't want it back in the city. Dima uncrossed his arms. So you took it upon yourself to blow up a warehouse without clearance. I took it upon myself to stop them and get rid of it all, yeah. You didn't have the authorization to do that. Sasha turned his gaze between the two, uneasy. It's right there in the middle of the bed. Uneasiness prickling the back of his neck. I thought they knew where Mishka was. With that possibility in mind, finding Mishka could have been well worth the risk. If I would have waited, they could have relocated. It was now or never, Dima. We cut it off at the source. Do you even consider the repercussions of such a high-profile stunt, Pavel? You destroyed an entire warehouse. And I'd do it again. Enough, please, Jonas, in the field. I need to concentrate. Pavel scoffed and stepped closer to Vadim, his nails bit into his palms. Dima lifted his hands and wiped them down to his face, taking a deep breath. Indigo, where's Jonas now? The corridor on the left. He's still bugging the vents. Dima turned his attention back to the giant monitors and leaned close to the screens. That night, Sasha rubbed the bottom hem of his shirt between his fingers while his shoulders sank. The day Mishka was kidnapped, he was already acting really weird. He seemed paranoid, I
Sasha.
guess. Sasha, you don't have
Please.
to. No, just listen, please. He came with me to Trinity, this nightclub. I was bringing a box to NS to my boss. It was supposed to be a super quick thing, and we'd just go home after. But he wanted to stay a while, so we did, and when we left, he just called me a cab and said he'd catch up later. Do you remember anything about what happened in the alley before Vadim found... Do you remember anything about what happened in the alley before Vadim found you? Mishka called me when I got there. He was already stabbed. He was bleeding. As he remembered the night with Mishka, the same feelings of apprehension returned to his chest. It felt tight and painfully hot. The pool of blood beneath Mishka's body flashed in Sasha's mind. So much blood. Then this guy showed up. What did he look like? Take all the time you need. He was dressed in all black and his hair was black too. He was fast. There were others, but the guy in black called the shots. I see. Taking a few steps towards Sasha, Dima's expression
Sasha.
softened. Thank you
Jonas, the ceiling!
for... Jonas, the ceiling. Whipping his head towards Indigo, Dima rushed over. The screen went black, accompanied by the crackling sound of static through the headset.
Jonas? Jonas!
Indigo, rigid and completely quiet, stared at the black screen. Ugh. Indigo pried off the headset and set it down, her shaking fingers lingering on it. Pavel tightened his arms around himself and ripped into the fabrics of his sleeve. Sasha's heart was in his stomach. If he thought his feet felt heavy earlier, there was no way he could move now. Only then did Sasha realize he had been holding his breath. There's no way. Maybe his headset disconnected. The look on everyone's face said otherwise. The sinking feeling in Sasha's stomach intensified when he glanced at Indigo. Indigo swallowed and pushed her chair back from the desk. Her eyes were brimming with big tears. He was setting up gear so he could get more information about Mishka's location and... Pavel hurried over to her and wrapped his arms around her shoulders. He said nothing, only held her close. He finally got a field job. He worked so hard. Her soft sniffles erupted into pained sobs. Indigo lifted her hands to cover her face. Her cries were muffled against Pavel's chest while he rubbed her back.
No.
Can't be. Yesterday, Jonas was just... And all this was for Mishka? Sasha's arms hugged his own body while he stared out the window.
Jonas's mission wasn't in vain. He was still able to plant a few bugs, and our drones finished mapping that ecto facility. Using that information, I can just go in and...
No.
Pav?
They killed Jonas Vadim. For just being there, what do you think they'll do to you? We need to take a step back. If we rush into this, we're losing more than we gain. But we don't have time to step back. I think Dima's right, Sasha. Rushing in might do more harm than good. Pavel lifted his head and rubbed at the back of his neck, glancing at Vadim. I'm the only extractor we have left who's trained for a job this dangerous. Dima paused and brought his hand to his face. His finger brushed over his bottom lip. Not the only one, no. Indigo lowered her hands from her face and wiped at her eyes.
Huh?
Dima, do you mean...
Natali.
Pavel's eyes widened. Sand sliding off Indigo's back, though he kept a hand planted on her shoulder for reassurance. Natalie? The person you ran off because she couldn't stand you anymore, Natalie? That one? Dima ran a hand through his hair, his other hand gripping his hip. We don't have much of a choice here. Natalie was our best extractor. We just have to get her to come back and... She's been MIA, Dima. Sasha quietly stepped away from the group and walked over to the window. His gaze darted over the skyline of Sobania.
Yes.
She's elusive and hard to track. Let's face it, none of us know the streets like she does. The one you suggest otherwise? The room became still. Indigo sighed and stared down at her hands.
I'll do it.
I'll find her. Sasha turned back from the window to see everyone's eyes on him.
No.
Absolutely not.
Huh?
What? Why? Sasha, I'm sure you're capable, but... No, he's capable. He knows the ins and outs of the city better than we do. He's had no formal training. Why would I need training? I'd just be looking around the city for this Natalie person, right? Dima shook his head, frowning.
No.
Sasha, you're inexperienced. We won't be able to guarantee your safety. I cannot afford to lose another person. Indigo can be in his ear, then. We have Vadim on standby if he needs it, but Sasha blends in. Sasha is inconspicuous. I can keep a safe eye on him. Sasha clenched his jaw. Indigo looked between them and turned towards Sasha, her eyebrows upturned in worry. You said so yourself. We don't have any other options. It's an absolute least I could do if it means getting Mishka back. You all seriously considering that? Joseph was a skilled agent, and I was unable to protect him. Now you want to throw a civilian into the field? Dima threw his hands up and turned for the door. He flung it open and left without another word. Get ready for mission. Sasha bit the inside of his cheek and stared at the ground. I get that he doesn't want the risk of losing anyone else right now, but I'm going, with or without his approval. Newfound determination ballooned in Sasha's chest.
Interesting.
What, did you go looking for him?
Yes.
Oh. Well, as interesting as that is, I think we're going to call it there. That's a good cliffhanger. What we're going to do, we'll play more of this tomorrow. I'm probably more or less at the halfway point from what I understand. Let's see, who fits this right now? Let's check Pop. They're playing Valorant, but they're a super queer-friendly channel. So we'll go check them out. It was good stuff. Thanks for stopping by, Dubbins, just in time. I mean, you were probably hiding in the shadows the whole time. Bye, love ya. What the fuck?
I was wondering when they'd show up.
Hey, Coffee Streams! How are you? Welcome to Thank You for the Raid! Can I get a shout out for JD? How you doing, darling? It's like dating simulator. Oh, Pog. It's been a minute. How are ya?
What did you do? Why'd you make that noise?
Are you questioning me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, there's my